Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live today from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. It is a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
So, you know how this works. When it's a Fireball Hot Take Friday, you know I get very, very, very excited about a football game that is upcoming. And I know we have talked a lot about Will Levis this week. We've talked a lot about the state of the Titans this week. We've talked about, who should be in trouble, who shouldn't be in trouble, who should be upset, who should. And I got to tell you, Ian, I've been saving this one, haven't I? For how many days have I been saving this?
What's that, your opening segment here?
Uh-huh.
I think the first I heard of this was just yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you right now. I know I've been crapping on the Titans all week. And the difference between you and me is that I actually believe that the Titans deserve to be crapped on. I was incredibly embarrassed by what happened on Sunday. It was a game that they should have never lost, and it was a tough loss. And I have serious concerns about the quarterback, and I mean serious concerns about the quarterback. I'm taking the Titans on Sunday against the Jets. And I'm going to tell you why. Even after the week we had, where we laughed about the fact that Will Levis said DeMario, whoever the hell that might be, was on the Jets when they don't have a single player named DeMario. After, again, stupidity after stupidity, second half, a special teams unit that I thought had gotten fixed. I thought the Titans on special teams had figured something out, and clearly they had not. And it was a very disappointing week. And it is a disappointing time right now to be a Titan fan, because it's hard to unsee what happened against the Chicago Bears. But here's why I'm picking the Titans on Sunday against the Jets. Because deep down in my head, not my heart, deep down in my head, I don't really see any reason that the Titans should win this game, other than the fact that it is a home game. Like that, the Titans are playing at home, and you get 3 points according to Vegas for playing a home game. So maybe that's the one thing, because they're playing at home. People will say, but Jared, the Titans have a good defense. Yes, but the other team has Aaron Rodgers, a first ballot slam dunk for sure Hall of Famer. And while Aaron is not the Aaron he was 3 years ago winning back-to-back MVPs, Aaron is still a smarter quarterback than Will Levis. And I've said the Jets stinking it up, and they stunk it up. The Jets stinking it up in week one was the worst thing that could have ever happened to the Titans. So everything in my head is saying Jets. On paper, the Jets have a good defense. They were third in the NFL last year. On paper, the Jets have a good quarterback. I know Aaron hasn't played in a year, but he kind of busted the cobwebs out by playing in the game on Monday night. So he's got that going for him. Breece Hall, good running back. Garrett Wilson, great receiver. And I know this, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm going to. We would kill for the Titans to have Garrett Wilson on their team. I mean, think about the offensive line the Jets have. Olu Fashanu is on the bench. Think about that. So everything in my head says Jets. I have zero trust in Will Levis. And I mean, I'm talking about trust to manage the game. Like, I trust Mason Rudolph if he were to go in there to be a game manager quarterback. Could you win by running the ball with Tony Pollard and playing defense? If you're going to game manage, you're better off with Mason Rudolph. It's like Kerry Collins game managed the Titans to a 13-3 record in 2008. Vince Young could have never game managed that. But I've been doing this long enough. I've been covering the NFL, and I've been covering the Titans long enough to know that every single time it feels like the Titans aren't going to win because they stink, they do. Every single time. Now, I'm not talking about in December when everybody's ready to pack it up and go to Cancun. But I am talking about this point in the year where everybody around the country looks at you and thinks, you stink. And everybody around the country looks at the team you're playing and says, that team is a better football team. And everybody should say, and I think everybody probably does say, everybody probably should say that the Jets are a better football team. And Ian, do you want to take one guess why I think people should say the Jets are a better football team?
Quarterback?
Because they are. Because they are a better football team. The Jets last year had a better record than the Titans with Zach Wilson as their starting quarterback. Granted, it's a different year, but a lot of the pieces are the same for the Jets. But again, I've been doing this long enough to know. We used to call this the Vrabel special back in the day. That just when it feels like the Titans aren't going to win. And I don't even know what you could say would make you believe the Titans are going to win. The Titans have a great defense, do they? Or did Caleb Williams miss DJ Moore wide open down the field? Did Keenan Allen drop a touchdown pass? Did he miss? I mean, Caleb was missing simple throws. They're in field goal range, and Caleb takes a sack. And I will give all the credit in the world to Keandre Coburn for busting through there and Sebastian Joseph Day for finishing it up. But Caleb should have gotten rid of that ball. And anybody who's a veteran quarterback knows that. And Aaron, I promise you, is not taking that sack on Sunday. But again, just when it feels like the Titans don't have an answer. And other than running Tony Pollard, I don't know what they can do on offense. They can't throw it to the wide receivers. The Titans find a way to win. So here's what's going to happen on Sunday. It'll be ugly. It'll be a gross football game. It should be rainy. I saw 40% chance. I thought, Ian, it was much higher than 40%, but I looked at my phone today and I saw 40%, so I was a little surprised by that for Sunday.
Probably be spotty, coming in bands from this hurricane.
So I'm calling it right now. Ian, put it on the calling it list.
Calling it, okay.
The Titans are going to win on Sunday at home against the Jets. Here's how it's going to go down. The Jets are going to score early. They're going to go up 7-0. Twitter's going to melt down. People are going, oh, no, we stink. Oh, God, this is terrible. Levis doesn't throw interceptions, but he doesn't really do anything, and they run it a little, and the Titans are going to kick 2 field goals. So it's going to be 7-6 at the half. Allen Lazard is going to fumble. I don't know why I picked him, but I picked him because I think he probably stinks the most out of all the people that will touch the football for the Jets on Sunday. Allen Lazard fumbles the football, and the Titans will kick another field goal to go up 9-7. And at the end of the game, Aaron will be driving, and the defense will force a turnover on downs. The Titans will win an ugly game. An ugly, muddy, dirty, no quarterback play kind of game. They'll be outgained. This is the kind of game they'll win on Sunday that would make Jeff Fisher tear up. 9-7 Titans win. Will Levis throws for 98 yards and an interception in the game. But after it's over, when we look at it and say, my God, Levis did not, he's 98 yards and an interception. And everybody's going to say, it's okay, Jared. He's a young quarterback and we won the game. Plus, you're going to say, well, it was raining. And speaking of rain, if the Jets lose this game, specifically the way I say the Jets are going to lose this game, it will rain down on Robert Saleh across the country. And maybe it should if they lose to the Titans. But that's what's going to happen. The end. Tennessee wins 9-7 on Sunday in an ugly game, a dirty game, a defensive game, a bruising game, a tiny margin game. And that's what's going to happen. So for everybody out there that spent all week, what's funny is on Monday, everybody was on board ripping the Titans. Then on Tuesday, there were some people that were like, let's move to Chicago. Then on Wednesday, it's only his first game, Jared. He's only played 10 games. Let's not get too upset. And it was funny. It was like a shift in everybody's tone between Monday and Wednesday. And as we've gotten further away from the Chicago game, the more people want to forget what happened or want to pretend that what happened in the Chicago game didn't happen. And you've said, can we talk about the Jets game, Jared? Can we do it? Well, we're talking about it today. And today, I am going to tell you, I believe that the Jets are the better football team. They should win the game. They have the better quarterback. But I just know how this league works. Tennessee, 9-7. That's the final. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in on that. Ian, do we have our recent calling it? Again, a calling it is not a guarantee. A guarantee is a stamp it. And I swear to God, I will not guarantee that the Titans are going to win this game on Sunday. But do we have the calling it list?
Yeah, let's see. The last calling it that I have written down is from May of this year. Jared says the Titans will only get one Thursday night game, probably versus Detroit, maybe Green Bay. I have that down as wrong.
I believe the Titans have one Monday night game, and it's against Miami.
Just the one, yeah. And then we also says, Jared says Will Levis will be the backup quarterback for the Titans week 1 versus the Saints. That's what said Wednesday, August 30th, 2023. I have wrong written down on that one.
That was wrong. Malik was the backup.
DeAndre Hopkins signs with the Titans.
Okay.
You said that Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. That was correct. Chicago will win the NFL draft lottery and take Bedard first overall.
That wasn't very difficult.
And then Vols will win 2 out of 3 versus Florida, LSU, and Kentucky. This was Tuesday, September of 2022. So we're going a little bit further back here on this calling it list.
Okay. We don't call things very often, apparently. We do guarantee them very regularly, but we're calling it today. Titans win on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Now, apparently this was a very popular segment last week, so I'm bringing it back. Who has the edge? We'll do it next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Aaron Rodgers is taking on Will Levis. I don't know about you. I know where I'm leaning on this one. Jets, Titans, week 2. You give me Aaron Rodgers against Will Levis. Levis had 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter of their opening game against the Chicago Bears. They were up in that game 17-3. Earlier in the week, their head coach, Brian Callahan, was quoted saying if we would have did better punting the ball on first down and we still would have won the game. That's not a ringing endorsement for his quarterback, Todd.
Solomon Wilcots, God bless him. Solly just saying, hey, Aaron Rodgers versus Will Levis. I know who I'm picking. So, if I were not in Nashville, if I did not know the Titans, if I did not know the axis with which the NFL Earth orbits on, I would pick the Jets. But I just know this football team, and I just know how these things work, and I think the Titans are going to win on Sunday. In fact, I'm putting it on the call-in list. So last week, we had a very popular segment. A lot of people said they liked it, so we're going to do it again. And Ian, I don't think it's a bad Friday segment on the program.
I like it.
So when I was a kid, I used to drive to the stadium with my dad, and we used to get the Tennessean delivered to the house, to the home like everybody else. And in the paper, they'd have the who has the edge between the two teams. And we went over this last week, and there were a lot of edges to the Bears, and a lot of people got upset, but it is what it is. So who has the edge this week between the Titans and the Jets? At quarterback, edge to the Jets. And if you say edge to the Titans, your opinion on anything else does not count. Edge to the Jets. And I would give the edge to the Jets if Tyrod Taylor was playing, and he's not. Quarterback, Jets. Do I need to explain any more on that one, Ian?
No.
Running back, Jets. And I thought, Tony Pollard, I like Tony Pollard a lot. I thought about going even on this one, but Breece Hall, and I'm not a fantasy football guy, Ian, you are.
Yes.
Breece Hall was like at the top of every fantasy list.
Usually top 5 pick. Yeah.
So you got to go running back, edge to the Jets. Pass catchers, Jets. And here's why I'm going with the Jets. Garrett Wilson is better than any player on either team. And I don't even know who their tight end is, but I know that your tight end. Yeah, okay. I mean, again, probably same level. He's really a backup, kind of like Chigg's really a backup. Chig did have a nice touchdown catch on Sunday. I'll give him that. But I'd rather have Garrett Wilson and Alan Lazard than Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins, especially given the fact that that Calvin Ridley and Will Levis, they're not even on the same radio wavelength. So I have to go with Garrett Wilson. I mean, I watched a game on Monday night, and I texted Bobby, and I said, the Jets should throw the ball to Garrett Wilson on every play. And I didn't watch the Manning cast, but apparently Bill Belichick was saying the same thing. Apparently Bill Belichick was like, hey, they should give the ball on every single play to Garrett Wilson. Every single play. So pass catchers, Jets. Offensive line, Jets. And again, here's where the Jets get the edge on the Titans. You've got J.C. Latham starting at left tackle. Olu Fashanu, who most of us rather have preferred to J.C. Latham, Olu's on the bench for the Jets. Olu would not be riding a pine here. So edge, got to go to the Jets. Defensive line, edge to the Titans. I got to go with the Titans simply because when I think of the Jets defensive line, I think of Quinnen Williams. And I think Quinnen Williams and Jeffrey Simmons are kind of the same. If I had to pick between the two, I would pick Williams, but I think they're kind of the same. But you've got T'Vondre Sweat, and T'Vondre Sweat did it on Sunday. So edge to the Titans defensive line. Linebackers, Jets, led by DeMario, who has done a great job with those guys in the middle. I'm kidding. But C.J. Mosley and Quincy Williams over Kenneth Murray and Ernest Jones. That's not a hard decision for me. C.J. Mosley is probably not at this point a legit number one middle linebacker, but he's certainly better than the two you have. Edge to the Jets. Defensive backs. Edge to the Jets. Again, Sauce Gardner might be the best defensive back in the NFL. So I got to go edge to the Jets. Again, I like your DBs, but not as much as I like Sauce Gardner. Special teams. Edge to the Jets. I can't in good conscience put the Titans. I cannot give the Titans an edge on special teams after Sunday. And, Indy Ben texted in and said that the games that they won that they had no business winning, that they would win is the Mike Vrabel special, and Mike Vrabel's not here anymore, and I get that. But let me say this. If you had told me a week ago today on Friday, if you had said the Titans are absolutely going to bomb on special teams, I would not have believed you. In fact, I said to Chris and Derek on the pregame show, the award-winning pregame show, I said, I have no anxiety when it comes to special teams. No anxiety whatsoever. I think special teams will be good. And then we had the disaster that we saw last Sunday, edge to the Jets. And coach, I'm going to go even on this, even though I think Brian Callahan's a pretty good coach and I think Robert Saleh's a pretty bad coach. I'm going to go even simply because Brian Callahan's coached one game and didn't make enough adjustments at halftime and couldn't get his quarterback to do what he told him to do. So edge to the Jets when it comes to coaching, even though they have Nathaniel Hackett. Edge even on coaching, even though the Jets have Nathaniel Hackett. So here you go. Quarterback, Jets. Running back, Jets. Pass catcher, Jets. Offensive line, Jets. Defensive line, Titans. Linebackers, Jets. Defensive back, Jets. Special teams, Jets. Coaching, even. 7 of 9 in favor of the Jets. 1 of 9 in favor of the Titans, and 1 even, that's coaching. Ian, do you have a problem with any of that?
No, I don't think so.
That does not seem good. That does not bode well for Sunday to look at who has the edge, and it'd be Jets, 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 Titans, Jets, 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 even. That is not good. But again, the Titans, for somehow, some way, they find a way to win these games. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025 on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Mr. Robinson is going to start us off today on the program and has been waiting patiently. Go ahead.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. So what my question is, and what I'm the edge, I gotta say Titans just because we wanted more, we got more heart.
Okay.
But also, man, why can't we block for our punter? Like this happened last year.
Maybe they don't have enough heart.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure it out because if we flip the field, we win that game. If we don't have that punt blocked and taken back for a touchdown, we still win regardless, in spite of Will Levis. So,
well, to your
I'm
point,
just trying to figure out.
To your point, I don't have the answer. I would have been, Mr. Robinson, thank you for calling. I would have been, and you all know this, and this is where I think like I show the honesty that I would like to tell you I bring to this program. Like if that was Craig Aukerman was the special teams coach on Sunday, I mean, I would have been blistering. I mean, you thought Levis got it bad this week, but if Craig Aukerman was coaching the special teams last week, I'd have been yelling and screaming and everything else. And Craig Aukerman wasn't coaching the special teams, and it was an Aukerman-like performance. And I had just laid most of the blame for all of the special teams mishaps over the years on Aukerman. But then Aukerman leaves, and all of a sudden, it's the same old crap. So I can't answer the question for you as to why they couldn't protect the punter. I can't tell you that. Like, I don't know the answer. I really do not know why the Titans special teams cannot get their act together. And I guess I've just decided that as a Titan fan, we are going to be cursed with horrendous special teams for the duration of our lives. Can we live with that? Probably not, but we don't really have a choice. 615-7, more heart. What does that even mean? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We are right back to your phones. Plus, Brian Callahan looked into the camera. I give Brian Callahan some credit for this because he looked into the camera on his coach's TV show, and he did something Mike Vrabel would never, ever, ever, ever do. And I am curious about what it actually means. We'll get to that next here on the program on Stillman & Company. Let me tell you about Window Nation. I absolutely love Window Nation. Did you know that most of your home's cold AC this summer leaked out through old windows? Ugh, don't want that. And with the nice weather, once we get past this weekend, although the weekend looks a lot better than originally predicted, with the nice weather in September, it's a great time to replace your old windows with energy-efficient super windows from Window Nation. People are talking about Window Nation. They've got over 20,000 five-star reviews on Google. And Window Nation is all about value. And that's why for every 2 windows you'll buy, you'll get 2 windows for free. Plus, with 0 down, no interest or payments for 24 months, it's real simple. Every 2 windows you'll buy, you'll get 2 windows free. And again, 0 down, 0 payments, no interest for 24 months. Isn't that great? So give them a call right now to schedule a fast, no obligation in-home estimate with the pros at Window Nation. 866-90Nation, windownation.com. That's 866-90Nation and windownation.com.
We're going to need every last Titans fan with the same energy and enthusiasm that we've seen from you in every spot in the offseason, and to turn it up 100 notches. We need that support from our fan base. Our players feel it. Our coaches feel it, and it makes a difference. There's a huge advantage when your crowd acts the way that the Chicago crowd did, and I know that we won't be outdone by the Chicago Bears when it comes to our fan attendance and experience for our players. I know that'll be everything that we're hoping it'll be come Sunday against the New York Jets.
How about that from Brian Callahan on the Coach's TV show? Basically looking right into the camera and saying, we need the fans. Fans, we need you. We need you to get loud. We need you to get proud. We need you to get behind us. We need you to cheer. We need you to this. We need you to that. Like, I was surprised by that because Mike Vrabel would have never looked into the camera and said, fans, we need you. If Mike Keith set Brian Callahan up with that, but it was hilarious because Mike Keith was like, well, and that was a good crowd at Chicago, and the Titan fans can bring it too. And Brian Callahan was like, yes, they can, Mike, and then turns and looks directly into the camera. It was like the old days of the NBA on NBC. Ian, I don't know if you remember this, but the old days of the NBA on NBC, they'd have that great music that would play.
Oh, yeah.
The round ball rock, which apparently is coming back, by the way. But as soon as they'd get going, Marv Albert would be sitting there and he'd be like, and joined now by the czar of the telestrator, Mike Fratello, and coach for the Atlanta Hawks. The big test is going to be stopping Michael Jordan. And Fratello would look at Marv Albert and he'd say, absolutely, Marv, and then would immediately turn his head like right to the camera and would look right in and go, in 1994, Michael Jordan retired and played baseball. In 1995, he came back. But in 1996, Michael Jordan has been a threat on both sides, and he's just looking dead ass into the camera. And that is what Brian Callahan was doing on his coach's show. Mike Keith says, hey, Titan fans can be pretty loud too. He's like, yes, sir, camera. Fans, we need you. We need you big on Sunday. We need you. And I'll give him credit. Now, I am fascinated to see what the crowd is going to look like on Sunday, given the fact that there's a 40% chance of showers, and maybe that'll go up between now and then. I mean, I call the phone, which is what I use to theme the weather. I call it the fake news phone because I can't tell you how many times I've canceled trips out on the lake because it says it's going to rain and then it doesn't. But again, 40% chance of rain, and then all the construction with the new stadium and the parking fiasco that's going to be. I mean, I don't even know where I'm going to park Sunday. I mean, so the parking fiasco. And then I know that, people want to pretend that Sunday didn't happen, but it did. And this football team's not very good. And this football team wasn't very good last year. And they weren't very good the year before that. And that also has an effect on fans. Now, I'm not going to poo-poo this like Ian did, where he doesn't think that Nissan Stadium can have a good crowd. Because I remember the old days of Steve McNair and Eddie George and how it was the hardest place to play in.
Well, they can, but they don't anymore.
Well, they did in the playoff game. John Robinson cried over it.
I guess he did cry. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I am curious to see what the home crowd looks like on Sunday. We knew it was going to be a zoo in Chicago for Caleb Williams' debut. I am curious to see what it's going to look like on Sunday. But once again, shout out to Brian Callahan for not feeling entitled. Like if Mike Keith had asked Vrabel, hey, Titans fans can bring it too on Sunday, Vrabel would have been like, well, we like the fans and, we want to play hard for them on Sunday. Like that's all he could have said. Said Brian Callahan to the camera. Fans, we need you. 615-737-1025. Jesse and Franklin is up next on my calling it that the Titans will win on Sunday. Jesse, go ahead.
Okay, how you doing, Jared?
Good.
I want to say this right here. I agree with you on a lot of things you say, but for this weekend, your prediction is not going to pass for two obvious reasons. One is Levis is not the salvation for the Titans. Well, I know that. Everybody else know that. Secondly, Rodgers, for that loss he took last week, he's going to take it out on the Titans. He's not going to beat them big because the defense for the Titans, I really like this year. I like Sweat. I like what he's doing, Sneeze, Simmons. So it ain't going to be I'm not going to pick them apart. I give it 24-10. But Titans will not win. And if Levis played anything like he played against Chicago last week against the Jets, he would not be playing Malik Willis. Mason Rudolph will.
Well, they ain't going to pull the plug that fast.
One last thing. One last
Go
thing.
ahead.
Jerry. And for as Tua made you look right last night. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, well, let's put Tua off to the side. Thank you, Jesse. We'll put Tua off to the side because it's not as enjoyable as well, we'll put two out. We'll get to two in a second. As far as the Levis and pulling the plug and going to Rudolph, I don't think they're going to do that. Like, I don't think they're going to do that by week 3. Now, could they do it, week 8, once it becomes abundantly clear and they feel like the season's getting away and it's like, well, we had to do something a la what the Falcons did last year going to Taylor Heineke. Yeah, they could do that. But they're not going to, if they lose, again, the caller's prediction, they're going to lose 24-10. If they lose 24-10, and if Levis plays as badly as he does against Chicago, it is going to be loud next week. Because again, everybody was mad on Monday, but everybody's anger started to subside on Tuesday and Wednesday, and by Thursday, it was like, all young quarterbacks struggle, Jared. I mean, C.J. Stroud didn't struggle, and Anthony Richardson had 3 touchdowns on Sunday, but still, I'm just saying, it's going to be bad around here. And I'm not saying like it's going to be bad on this show because I'm going to be talking a lot of trash. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about it's going to be bad. Just the city and the people and the anger and everything. One text says, Jared, I'm taking your pick since you hit the mark last week. Titans 9-7 it is. Again, last week, I said 24-16 Bears. And I mean the amount of people. I tweeted out what we predicted on the game day, on the pregame show. I predicted what we all picked. Chris obviously picked the Titans. Derek picked the Titans, and I picked the Bears 24-16. And when the Titans were up 17-0, I was like, man, people are going to be so mad and everything else and whatever. And the next thing I knew, all of a sudden, it's 24-17. And I thought to myself, wow, I mean, hey, this has been the most painful hour and a half of my life. But other than that, it's great because I look like a genius. So maybe we'll see. Hey, and if 9-7 works, you know how the old man would say, he'd be like, hey, a win is a win. And you've never won anything, so you don't understand how hard it is to win in the NFL. Ha, 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 ha. For whatever that is worth. One texter into the text line says, I really disagree with your prediction, Jared. I think it's going to be like 20-17 Titans. Can I ask you guys how you plan on scoring 20 points? I mean, right now, your quarterback cannot connect with your number 1 receiver. Your number 2 receiver is hurt. Your number 4 receiver can't catch. Your offensive line can't pass block. And the Jets know you're going to run the football. And they've got one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. And they've got 2 good linebackers. So somebody help me understand how you're going to score 20 points. You know that great defense that the Titans have? The great defense. They didn't turn the ball over against Chicago. If you're going to win, if you're going to score 20 points, and you're going to do it with a quarterback right now that, if you're going to do that, then you're going to need to turn the football over. So I don't know where you guys see the 20 points coming from. Adam in Portland saying 27 points. Again, I don't know where those are coming from, but that's, your choice, and guess you can roll with it however you want. Jared from Spring Hill texts into the text line and says, Jared, you need to ask Corey Curtis about his pull with Levis throwing for 4,000 yards. Can we get updated results? Ian, I forgot about that.
Yeah, not off to a great week 1 as far as the numbers go.
I mean, I forgot about the fact that Corey Curtis put up that poll on Titans Twitter on the preseason game and said, well, Will Levis throw for 4,000 yards. I think it's a slam dunk, guys. Back to you. And I just ripped his tush for that. And I forgot about that. And Corey's like, that's only 230 yards a game. And Levis threw for 129. I did forget about that. Oh, man. Another texter says, is your alternative prediction Jets 45-0? I don't have an alternative prediction. We don't do 6-pack picks and then get to pick twice for a game. No. We don't do that. Although I did do that with that first game because on the week before I picked Kansas City to win. And then the day of the game, 6 days later, I forgot who I had picked in the 6-pack picks. And then I thought Baltimore was going to win. And in all fairness, the difference of winning and losing was a toe. as far as those two teams were concerned. Texture says, I know what you said about the Browns last year. Are you going to do the same with the Jets? What did I say about the Browns last year? You people seem to remember things that I said or did better than I do, which might be a concern about me, but who knows? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll get back to your phones. Josh in White House, though, does send in a text that says, where are all the how about Tua now, Jared people today? Gosh, Tua stinks. I do hope he's okay, but and considers retirement for his own health. That comes from Josh White House. We'll get to Tua because, I mean, last night's game was something. You know, a lot of regret, a lot of enjoyment, and a lot of sadness. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company here on the program. First, though, let's talk about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I absolutely love my friends at Hiller. They take great care of my home, and they can do the exact same for you. You've heard me talk about Hiller and how it feels like being part of a family, and it really does. And this month, Hiller is treating you like family, too, with their Friends and Family Savings event. Happy Hiller Club members like me save up to 25% off your first HVAC, plumbing, or electrical repair. And everyone else gets a 10% discount. Present your coupon and save. Visit happyhiller.com today to download a coupon. And again, you've heard me talk about the Happy Hiller Club before. It's one of the best examples of the special perks you get when you join being a Happy Hiller Club member. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
The events in Miami. Tua Tagovailoa leaving last night's game against Buffalo after suffering a concussion in the third quarter. It was the third diagnosed concussion of his NFL career. He also was diagnosed with one in college playing for Alabama. There was no immediate timetable for his return, but this moment left players on both sides visibly shaken, including Bills left tackle Deion Dawkins.
It was the saddest thing. I promise you, it was the saddest thing. We're all just watching him run, and we're like, slide, bro, slide, bro, slide, bro, slide. And this game is so fast. It's a game of inches. You know, if he would have just slid just a little inch before, it's such a sad thing. My prayers, my heart goes out to Tua, his family, his parents, and I hope that he's going to recover well, because this is a violent game, and that shows it. And I know everybody in this locker room will be praying for him, you know, even though like we're enemies, but we're family. You know, like we're all football players, and we're in this brotherhood together, and we all tip our hats to Tua, and we all will get on a knee and pray for Tua and his family. But it's a sad deal.
Deion Dawkins, after a win on the Bills, saying, yeah, it's a sad deal, even though we just won the game. And let me say this. I was sad about that last night, too. Tua getting another concussion. Ian, I believe this is his fourth, or is it his fifth?
Oh, I think it's at least his fourth, I think.
I think it might be his fourth in the NFL and his fifth overall, but it might be his fourth overall. I know one of them came at Alabama. And so last night, I'm just going to walk you through kind of all of my thoughts and feelings about the Thursday night football game yesterday. In the last segment of yesterday's show, I said, hammer the Buffalo Bills plus 2.5. I'm like, hammer that number. And I said, I'm thinking about guaranteeing it, but I'm not going to do that. And Ian, I was regretful last night that I did not guarantee Buffalo plus 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And then came the enjoyment that I had of the fact that for months and months and months and months, I have argued with people over Tua. I have said, guys, Tua is terrible. And he's especially terrible in these primetime games. Remember when the schedule came out and I said, woo, good news, you're playing the Dolphins in primetime, because Tua absolutely stinks in primetime. And Joe Rexrode's like, oh no, Tua's good. He threw for all these. I'm like, yes, in the noon kickoff on CBS that nobody watches. And that's exactly what Tua did. On week 1, they played Jacksonville, noon on CBS. Ian, did you watch that game?
Titans were on.
I don't think anybody watched that game. And Tua threw for 300 and a couple of tutties, and they won. And so then it's like, oh, what do you think of Tua now? We even had a caller that called in. That was like, you said you take Will Levis over Tua. Ha, ha, ha. And I was like, that was because I, know what Tua is. Whereas with Levis going into the year, there was a chance that he might actually turn into a star. Now, I'm not sure I really feel that way. And then Tua was absolute cheeks last night. I mean, cheeks. And I did enjoy it, before he got concussed. When it was all just football and it was all, they say fun and games, it was very enjoyable to sit there and say, I told you guys, Josh Allen's my preseason MVP, and I've told you guys I would never give Tua that kind of contract, and I would never, ever bank on him winning a big game. And he was 2-8 going into last night in primetime games over the last 2 years. Now it's 2-9, and he throws that terrible interception that looked like Will Levis's, but had the one thing, like people were tweeting me saying, oh my God, it's just like Levis, Jared. And I'm like, right, but his team was down by like 6 scores when he did that. Whereas Levis's team was up in the fourth quarter, which is a big difference. And then Tua scrambled. And I saw Tua scramble. And again, I thought about Will Levis. Because I thought when it came to Will Levis, we talk about, hey, stop getting hit, you'll get hurt. And so I thought Tua was hurt, not concussed hurt, but shoulder, back, knee, ankle, hip, something like that. And so Tua was down, and I'm like, what are you doing scrambling in a game that's already over? And then when they said on the TV broadcast that it was a concussion, I was like, oh no. And then the enjoyment that I had about being right about the Bills and the enjoyment about being right about Tua and the take that Joe Rex road and all of that, then that kind of started to subside a little bit. Because Tua's got a pretty big choice to make. And it's his life and it's his brain and he can do whatever he wants. I think he should retire from the NFL. This is why we have injury guarantees. One of my friends texted me and said, Tua just signed for like 200-something million. So how much of that does he get if he ends up not playing another down? And I said, and Ian, where I knew this from? I said, whatever is guaranteed for injury.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are 3 separate guarantees. There is guarantee for injury, there is guarantee for cap, and there is guarantee for skill. That's why you'll hear something when they say so-and-so signed for $100 million guaranteed, 73 of which is fully guaranteed. Because you don't know where that other 20, whatever it is guaranteed or not guaranteed. Or, is it guaranteed for skill but not guaranteed for injury? Is it guaranteed for, and I think the number's like somewhere around $157 million for Tua is guaranteed for injury. So unless there's a waiver, which we learned all about this offseason, unless there's a waiver for the concussions, which quite frankly, Ian, I could see the Dolphins. And this could have been a holdup in those negotiations. I could see the Dolphins wanting to get a waiver for the head injuries with Tua while negotiating the contract before the start of the season.
I guess so. Sure.
So I don't know, again, what the language of Tua's injury guarantee is, but if it's a straight up injury guarantee and it does not, and there's no waiver and the concussions are what they are, if that's the case, then I really think Tua should retire from the NFL. Because what's the point of all of that money if you're going to live to be 47 years old and then suffer from CTE and dementia? And I didn't know Frank Wycheck very well. We had crossed paths on a couple occasions, but I know a lot of people who worked with Frank Wycheck, both to play with him with the Titans. Obviously Floyd signed him, claimed him on waivers from Washington. And then everybody that worked with him, whether it was at 104.5 or at Titans Radio, that knew Frankie Wycheck. And just the stories that I would hear about how sad what Frankie had gone through over the years. It's like, Tua, don't do that. And no matter what you do, you gain weight, you lose weight. It's a violent game. And I don't know how many, what's the number on concussions before it's like, any chance you had of living a regular life is probably out the window. I don't know what it is. But when you're starting to get to 4 and 5, that's when it starts to become really concerning. So the concussion stuff with Tua, that's not a laughing matter. That's not a joking matter. That's not a celebrating, I was right matter. Because again, my problems with Tua as a quarterback have nothing to do with the concussions. But that's the realest part of this, in which I would say I think Tua needs to retire. Now, that being said, everything before that, I did enjoy. I did enjoy being right about Tua in primetime games because he was awful last night before he got concussed. That being said, football's a game. And the excitement and he sucks and he's great and I predicted this and I thought all that, it's a game. That's why I love my job. My best friend that I've been best friends with since the first day of preschool was the chief resident in the COVID ICU when we didn't play sports for 5 months. And I remember he and I would talk like once a week or something like that. And he would talk about what his day was like in the COVID ICU at the height of COVID. And I would be like, well, I talk about the Titans for a living. And I understand, the fun that comes with sports, but this Tua stuff, that ain't fun. That's serious stuff. And so, again, my advice to Tua, not that it's my decision, not that it's my money, not that it's my brain, but my advice to Tua would be hang it up. Like, hang it up. That's again, my advice. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the program. So a lot of people saw week 1 against the Bears and said, Jared, that Titans defense is elite. But will it be on Sunday? Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 The Game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. What did I do, Bernard Skinnard, on the YouTube chat? You're, Y-O-U-R, you're an awful human being who hates the Titans like Jared. Oh, he's not talking about me being an awful human being. I do not hate the Titans, Bernard. In fact, I love the Titans. I am going to the game on Sunday, and I will be rooting for the Tennessee Titans, and I hope they win. And not only that, Ian, what have I already done about Sunday's game?
You've called a win.
I am predicting the Titans are going to beat the Jets, and they're going to beat the Jets 9-7. But I don't feel confident by any means in thinking the Titans are going to win on Sunday, other than just I've seen this too many times when I'm looking at a game on paper and I'm saying to myself, I don't see how the Titans win this game. And then the Titans go out and they win the game. I'm like, well, I guess they've figured it out some way, somehow, and it's happened numerous times over the years. And a lot of people would say when I ask, okay, if the Titans are going to win, how are they going to win the game? You guys would say, the defense, Jared, the Titans defense. It's a great defense. And it's hard to argue that right now because the Titans, after 1 week of play, have the NFL's number 1 ranked defense by yards, which is how we do it. They're 18th in points allowed, but again, that includes a pick 6 and a punt block, and that's really not their fault. Total yards, the Titans are number 1. But I'm skeptical about how good the Titans defense really is. Not that I think that the Titans defense is bad, but I'm not a believer that when I look at this team, that they are a dominant, can carry the operation no matter what defense. The 2000 Ravens, the 85 Bears, even the 2000 Titans, which technically finished number 1 in the NFL in total defense, ahead of the 2000 Ravens. I'm not sure this Titans defense is as good as 2007, in which Vince Young quarterbacked a team that made the playoffs. I think this defense might be on par with 2021. But the difference was in 2021, when all 4 guys up front were healthy, Autry, Simmons, Dupree, and Landry, they could get after the quarterback. This team, I don't know that Arden Key is going to be able to get after the quarterback the same way a healthy Bud Dupree did. And so while I recognize the fact that they had a very good game on Sunday, and I recognize the fact they've got good players. Simmons is a good player. Sweat is a good player. Landry is a good player. Snead is a good player. While I recognize all of that, I also think that they're probably more of a top third of the league defense than they are a dominant or elite defense. Because I think most of what happened last week had to do with Caleb Williams and just how bad he was, more so than it had to do with your great defense. But this will be the week that tells us whether or not the defense is truly dominant. Because, again, while Aaron Rodgers may not be the Aaron Rodgers of 3 years ago, he may not be the Aaron Rodgers that is headed to Canton. He may be coming off of an Achilles tear, and he's in a similar system, but he's with a new team basically, and he's got one game at he's still Aaron Rodgers. The throws that Caleb missed on Sunday, the wide open one to DJ Moore he missed, there was one throw against a zone where I think it might have been DJ Moore sat down in the zone and Caleb threw it and it skipped to him because he threw it 2 yards short of the player. Those aren't going to happen on Sunday. If you give Aaron that kind of time and Aaron's got somebody open, Aaron's going to hit him in the hands because he's Aaron Rodgers. So when I look at the Jets, and granted, I don't think the Jets are a dominant offensive team. I wouldn't say that they're Kansas City. I wouldn't even say that they're Houston. But when I look at the Jets have a starting quarterback, a legitimate high-end quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. They have one of the top running backs in the NFL in Breece Hall. They have one of the number 1 receivers in the NFL in Garrett Wilson. And they've got a solid offensive line between Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, and they've got a solid offensive line. So if the Jets go out there on Sunday and they just can't do anything then all of a sudden the Titans might really have a dominant defense. Now, if the Titans have a dominant defense, I think there's kind of a whole nother discussion that has to be had if Levis performs the same way that he performed against the Bears as well, which is, okay, at what point do you say, hey, I don't want to waste this elite dominant defense. Let me go put in a game manager at quarterback, and you do have a game manager on your bench. Let me go put a game manager in there to try to carry Collins my way this thing to the playoffs. But here's the other thing about the dominant defense that did not happen last Sunday. You didn't turn the quarterback over. You didn't force a fumble. You didn't get an interception. You didn't any of that stuff. And the thing about dominant, elite, carry you defenses is they not only get turnovers, they get meaningful turnovers. Go back to that 2000 Ravens team. The image I have from that game blistered into my brain. Yesterday, we were talking about the difference between short-term memory and long-term memory. The memory I have is not of Ray Lewis running the ball into the end zone, but it's what happened immediately after that. When I turned to my dad and I looked at it and I said, are we going to lose? And I remember looking at the 5 minutes on the clock. And for some reason, and I don't even know if O'Charlie's exists anymore, and if they do, there's like one more restaurant in town. I don't know if you guys remember when O'Charlie's used to be everywhere in town. And I can remember seeing an O'Charlie's logo behind my dad's head and saying, are we going to lose? And my dad looked at me down by 14 and just said, yeah. He said, yep. And I'm like, lose? We're not supposed to lose. That Ravens team hit one offensive play. A ball on the sideline from Trent Dilfer to Shannon Sharp that set up a touchdown. And other than that, they didn't do anything. But that's what a dominant, elite, carry you kind of defense can do. They can carry you. You get a punt blocked, they'll find a way to win the game. You throw a stupid pick six, they'll find a way to win the game. Now, you can't win the game if they do them both. But if this is an elite, dominant defense, then we're going to have some different conversations. I just don't think they're there yet. And I don't think they're going to be there. Because I don't think they have enough elite, high-end players. Again, go back to these carry-you defenses, these teams that are just, defense through and through. Go back to Peyton Manning's team in Denver that won the Super Bowl. That team had DeMarcus Ware, who is in the Hall of Fame, Von Miller, who is going to be in the Hall of Fame, Chris Harris, who was probably the best corner in the league at that point in time, and I'm sure there's some other guys I'm forgetting, but they had Hall of Fame players. I don't know that this defense has Hall of Fame players. Simmons and Snead and maybe Sweat are in the, hey, those are high-end, top-of-the-league players. But again, we're talking about elite. I don't know. The best defensive player in the game on Sunday is Sauce Gardner on their team. Because he might just be the best, period, the best corner in the NFL. I promise you, I am not a hater. And I am not hating as far as the defense is concerned. I recognize defense is good. Probably a top third in the league. Probably the 9th best defense or something like that in the NFL. But I don't think they're number one. I don't think they're elite. I don't think they can do all the hard work. But if they can do it to Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, maybe they are. I'm not ruling out that they might be. I'm not this kind of guy that's just going to say, I don't think they are right now, so I promise you that I will think that forever. If they go out there and they do their thing, then I will give them credit. But having a hard time getting there. One text says, Jared, if I'm not mistaken, how many times has Aaron Rodgers beaten the Titans? Boy, let's think. Titans won in 2008. So Rodgers won in 2012. And Rodgers won in 2020. The Titans won in 2016 at Nissan Stadium. Parrish Cox, of all people, had an interception. That was a game Taylor Lewan got kicked out of. And the Titans won in 2022 in Green Bay when Todd Downing had a couple of cocktails on his way home, and I had to walk 2 miles from the stadium to the hotel because for whatever reason, we decided not to get a hotel close to the stadium. And there was no way to get an Uber or whatever out of the stadium.
I'm seeing 2 and 3 in 5 career games versus the Titans.
Isn't that what I just said? 2012 and 2020. And then 2008, the Titans won. 2016, the Titans won. And 2022, the Titans won.
I think that checks out.
Ha, 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 ha! Bang, bang, bang. 615-737-1025. Corey Curtis, News 2, joins us next here on the program on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. 615-737-1025. Here if you want to weigh in. Tune in to 93.3 Totally Hits Nashville tomorrow for MTSU football. The Blue Raiders will take on Western Kentucky at Floyd Stadium. Pregame at 4:30, kickoff at 6. That's on 93.3 Totally Hits Nashville. Then we got Vandy football as well. Tomorrow, Georgia State on the road. Pregame 4:30, kickoff at 6 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. And we have our college football game of the week. That's right, at 11 a.m. when Alabama takes on Wisconsin, presented by Twin Peaks. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of the 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Be sure to join me, Chris Sanders, and D. Mace live at John Bon Jovi's this Sunday, 9:30 to 11:30 for the award-winning pregame show ahead of the Titans and the Jets. The award-winning pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. And because I'm in a good mood, let's give something away. Be caller 5 right now at 615-737-1025, and you'll win a pair of tickets to see Co Wetzel at Ascend Amphitheater on Friday, September 27th. So I would have forgotten about this if a texter hadn't texted in earlier today to say, hey, what about Corey Curtis's slam dunk, 4,000 yards this year for Will Levis? Corey, 129 and the ugliest pick six I think I have ever seen. Do you still feel like 4,000 yards is a slam dunk for the Titans quarterback?
If he plays 17 games, I think he's probably going to get there. I do.
At 129 a game?
I would anticipate him throwing for more than 129 yards, like the Bears would anticipate Caleb Williams throwing for more than 93. That last year Ryan Tannehill opened with 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and I don't think we anticipated him doing that each game the rest of the season.
So you do not think that Sunday is a representation of Will Levis's deficiencies, but a one-off, or do you think that it is a red flag what we saw from the Titans quarterback?
I think it's all the above. All right. I mean, it is who he is and where he is. I mean, look, what did he face? Pressure on 50% of his throws. It was most or second most in the league. I mean, the offensive line's got to be better. He's got to handle it better. He can't, the first half, he just dirted balls when there was nothing there. He managed the game. He did what Brian Callahan wanted him to do. As I've said, they're teaching him a new way to play quarterback. And I think it's realistic to say he's not going to learn it in 1 week. He's still going to revert to some things. And if he keeps reverting to those things, he won't be the Titans quarterback. He's got to learn. So we're going to have to see if he can learn under Brian Callahan and advance himself. I think he probably can. But again, we will wait and see. Offensive line's got to be better. He's got to be better. For me, what's concerning is, we've talked all preseason in training camp about missing Calvin Ridley deep. And what did we see on Sunday? Missing Calvin Ridley deep. And that was really concerning to me. I mean, look, the interception's a bonehead play. I watched Brett Favre make plenty of bonehead plays when he was young. I watched Josh Allen miss the broadside of a barn when he was young.
Did you ever see Josh Allen throw that pick up by 1 in the fourth quarter, though?
Look, I have seen Josh Allen his first 2 years in the league, and I was dead wrong because I thought he was an absolute garbage pick and was never going to make it in the NFL because he could not hit a stationary target half the time. But he got better. He got better. Go look at his stats from his rookie year. They're not great. All right.
At the same time, they made the playoffs Josh Allen's second year.
They had a good team around him, right?
Year.
They had a good team around him. I mean, better
than the defense Levis has right now.
Well, but Levis doesn't play behind the defense. He plays behind the offensive line.
So it's the line's fault.
Well, no, it's both of their fault. Line's got to play better. He's got to play better. But you're asking, which one, what's different? Allen had a better group in front of him, blocking the way. Look, he had an open pocket and he throws a rifle shot to Calvin Ridley for 22 yards. You give him a pocket, he's going to deliver some footballs. But that doesn't excuse the mistakes. They both need to be better. My simple thing is this. If he threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, I was not going to anoint him Dan Marino. All right. We need to see more. We need to see if he grows or doesn't grow. We'll know. But I think saying now is putting the cart before the horse.
So I was going to ask you, Corey Curtis with us, I was going to ask you what was the most concerning thing that you saw Sunday. And it sounds to me, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like the overthrows to Ridley are what really bothers you.
The fact that they can't get on the same page, that does bother me.
That is not what bothers me the most. What bothers me the most is the fact that he won't slide and the fact that the coach told him before the fourth quarter, don't do anything stupid. Yep. And not only did he do something stupid, he went out and did the single stupidest thing you could possibly do, minus running the ball all the way back to the end zone and then handing it to a Bear player to run into the end zone with the ball. Like that. Look,
his interception was bad. It's not much different than the Tua interception last night.
But Tua was winning in the fourth quarter when he did it.
No, but we see Tua in the fourth quarter. He's usually not very good.
I go back to what Belichick said.
Guys make mistakes. Will he make that mistake again? I agree with you on the sliding. He's been told he can't kill himself. And he continues to do it, and he's going to get hurt. And that is concerning. That is concerning. My point with the Ridley thing is we've been talking about this. We've been talking about this, and they say they're working on it, but they're still not hitting. And that's concerning to me. But see, that's concerning to me is they've been working on it. It's not getting better.
But can he all of a sudden start listening to the coach?
Sure,
he
can.
You think
Sure
that
he
it's just
can.
one day it's like, okay, yesterday I didn't listen to the coach, but this time when I heard what the coach said, I was like, you know what? Coach
He
makes
is
a
used
good
to
point.
doing the whole thing himself, right? And
I'm sure he was coached when Vrabel was here.
But yes, but I'm saying, when I say doing the whole thing himself, he's used to running the ball all over the field and trying to make everything happen by himself. All right. And they're trying to coach that out of him. And I don't think expecting it to be coached out of him in one game is necessarily reasonable. Again, if we're 8-9 games into the season and we're talking about the same stuff, then I'm going to shake my head and say, guys, I don't know. But
so
after
I guess
one
I'm just
game,
asking, Corey, and I love you, but I guess I'm just asking this: if we can't trust him, like if we saw on Sunday him refuse the coaching again, I don't think it was
I think it's
Dan
natural
Marino,
instinct more than it's refusing coaching.
right? But it's not like Dan Marino being told by Jimmy Johnson, "Hey, throw the curl," and then saying, "Screw you, coach, I'm throwing it deep," which Dan Marino did do. Like it's not that. It's,
he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah,
it's just when the natural inclination kicks in, it overrides everything he's learned up into that point. It's like a fail-safe system.
It's like yourself. Your natural inclination is to take extreme points of view. Sometimes you call me and say, "Am I wrong on this?" Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you say, "Am I going too far, too fast?" Sometimes you don't. And it's being in repetitive situations. What's that?
I says because I think I'm right about this. I don't need to ask you if I'm right. I think I know I'm right.
Okay, let me ask you this. What did you think of Levis at halftime?
At halftime, I was very pleased with the lack of bad decisions.
There you go.
By the entire team.
In the second half, what did he do? He made bad decisions.
Yeah, so when the going got tough. The way I look at it with the young quarterback. The way I look at it is, and I don't look at Levis as a rookie anymore. A lot of people are making that excuse, the kind of crutch that's like, well, he's only 10 games in, so he's still a rookie. I don't do that. To me, the jump is from year 1 to year 2, not from game 17 to game 18. And he's 25 years old. And the way I look at it is, there are certain expectations that I have for a second-year quarterback in terms of mental decisions that they make on the field. And Levis, when it got big in every moment, Levis could not meet it. And it took one thing, a blocked punt. It took one play to put the entire team on their heels. And that's when the quarterback, if he's a rookie, it's one thing, but that's when a quarterback's got to take the bull by the horns and say, all right, guys, I've got it. It will be okay. And he couldn't do that. He got just as rattled. And so did the coach, by the way. He got rattled by the blocked punt. And then all of a sudden, every decision he made was a bad one.
Look, you're absolutely right that the blocked punt rattled everyone on that football team. There's no question about that whatsoever. And he has to respond to it better. Brian Callahan has to respond to it better. The offensive line has to respond to it better. But I can't just sit here and say, well, you know what? Opening day in Chicago, he did this. So it's never going to happen. It's just never going to happen. I can't put all my eggs in one 2-quarter segment of football and say this is the way it's going to be forever.
Well, I mean, I'm coupling it with last year.
Ryan Tannehill last year in New Orleans lost the game by himself.
But Ryan Tannehill in that game, first of all, we forget the fact, again, going back to the block punt, like we forget about the fact that they didn't pick the ball up, that the refs called it dead on the fumble return for a touchdown.
By Kevin Byard. Yeah, but that doesn't change the fact that he completed less than 50% of his passes, and he threw 3 interceptions, and the offense only put 15 points on the board against a bad Saints team.
Right, but to me, I chalk that up, and you go look at the way Tannehill played the next week and Tannehill's body of work. I chalk that up to the fact that Ryan Tannehill didn't play in the preseason and wasn't ready for the offensive line that was in front of him.
Ryan Tannehill is like a 12-year veteran. You can't tell me he wasn't ready to play. Give the
I know.
input.
I was
You're
screaming
gonna
on the
say Tannehill was
radio
bad because
when
he
you
didn't play in
guys
the
on the preseason broadcast were like,
Matt
Ryan
Stafford hasn't
Tannehill's
played
going
in
to
the
hand off
preseason
3
in 20
times.
years.
What?
Okay, so we're saying the next week he goes 20 of 24 for 250 in an overtime win over the Chargers.
Again,
so
I'm
he responded.
not freaking out about the missed throws to Ridley. That is a physical issue that, you will work it out on the
You're more concerned
practice
about
field.
mental decision making.
Yes, and Tannehill didn't mentally lose that game last year. They
was just
lost
bad.
that game. They lost that game out of bad performance, and I think a lot of that was he didn't know how bad that offensive line in front of him was about to be. Now, again,
He
I
got
was
sacked
screaming
3
about it
times.
because you know the right tackle story. But again, with Levis, for me, he reverted to too many stupid decisions. And when the coach says, I told him not to do it and he did it anyways, that's a huge red flag that a second-year quarterback shouldn't be having.
It's a red flag and it's a mistake and it's inexcusable. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen the next week. Look, if he does it like in the next 3-4 weeks, if it comes up again and again, then it's a problem. You're talking about something that's happened once.
No, it happened last year.
Okay, we're going to go back to last year. All right, let's go back to last year.
I'm hoping
Again,
for
you
a
just
jump
told
from year
me-
1 to year 2.
You just told me how awful that offensive line was.
Oh, it's
all right. It was awful, and he played there and he took his shots and he got hit and he put his body in jeopardy and absolutely. He's got to learn from that stuff. We're talking about one game this year.
But my
One
problem
game.
last year, and it was the coach's problem too, because you could see it from the Pittsburgh to the Tampa Bay game, was you remember the end of the
You
Pittsburgh
didn't want
game?
to start him anyway.
Do you remember the Pittsburgh game last year?
I don't remember it specifically.
The Thursday
except that
nighter,
they
Levis
lost.
was very,
Yeah.
very good in the first half. He missed Spears on a throw right before halftime, but he was very good in the first half. And then Vrabel took the ball out of his hands right around halftime to kick a field goal because he missed Spears on a throw. And then the Steelers, were trailing the whole game, and they came back and they scored with like 4 minutes left, and the Titans were down by 4. And he misses Kyle Phillips short on a 4th down, throws the ball on the sideline to Burks. Now, TD says that he was coached to throw it to Burks on the sideline, so I'll have to give him that. But if you remember that last drive, they start off pinned back. He just throws a ball on the sideline for DeAndre that DeAndre has to go up and knock away from the defensive back.
Yeah,
it was like
I remember that one.
He got out there and just said, I'm throwing it at DeAndre. I don't care how many people
And that happened a lot last year.
And so he threw 2 balls to the end zone at the end of the game. The first one got dropped. The second one got picked.
That's right. That's
the
right.
next week
And he
against
didn't
Tampa
need to.
Bay, they got put in a similar situation. He threw a ball down the middle of the field that didn't get intercepted, and Tim Kelly immediately starts calling bubble screens for Kyle Phillips because as a coach, he realized I can't trust this guy. So now you go into year 2. And of course, I mean, look, those were probably bad coaches last year, but they're not the worst coaches. And so they were trying to coach that out of him. So now he understands going into year 2. And he goes out with a different coaching staff and does the exact same thing. I mean, at what point is it this is who he is? For me, it's year 2.
It's part of who he is, but they are trying to coach it out of him. And for what did we say? For 2 quarters, they did, right? For 2 quarters, he made solid decisions. So you build on that. You coach out the bad stuff and you build on. Look, he may not do it. You might be right. But this one game, we can't say he's not going to get better. He may not, but I can't say, well, game 1 of year 2, it's over.
I think there's a chance he could be an NFL quarterback. I don't think there's any chance he can be a superstar quarterback. And that's what we went into this year hoping that he was going to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, if you're saying, is he going to be a top 5 quarterback? I mean, he's got a long way to go. But after watching Josh Allen for 2 years, nobody thought he was a top 5 quarterback. A lot of people thought, including myself, he wasn't an NFL quarterback. And I'm not saying he's Josh Allen, and I'm not saying everybody improves like Josh Allen. There are way more quarterbacks in this league that fail horribly, that come in with, I mean, look at Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. Shoot, look at Deshaun Watson. He was on top of the world, and now he's trash out there.
Well, Deshaun, I think, is in like a separate category of,
yes,
what the hell went wrong
issues.
there. I think we know, but
there are plenty of guys who look the part, have the tools to be the part, but like, what are we talking about? Decision making, heart, quick twitch, all of that stuff. And that's what we've got to see. But, I know you like to make fun of me for my 4,000 yard take. Jake Ferguson was on pace to throw for 4,000 yards.
Jake Browning.
Jake Browning.
Yep.
If Brian Callahan and the coach over there can coach him up, I'm confident they can coach up Will Levis to a better level than we saw Sunday.
That's some disrespect for Jake Browning. I'm just going to tell you.
I don't hate the Jake Browning, but Jake Browning's a backup.
Jake Browning game managed Washington to the college football playoff. Will Levis never won anything.
Okay. We're talking about college. All right. Let's talk about college. Jameis Winston won a national championship. What did he do?
Jameis Winston was a bad boy, man. In college, Jameis Winston was.
Yes, he was. And in the NFL, he's an interception machine.
But he was also a turnover machine in college. You go back to that last year at Florida State, there was a lot of how are they winning?
We can find a million college quarterbacks who were bad boys. Who is Jake Fromm? He was a bad boy at Georgia.
Well, he wasn't really.
He just trash in the NFL.
He was just a game manager. He just handed the ball to Nick Chubb and Sony Michel and had that defense and still lost to Tua.
Mettenberger was a bad boy at LSU. All right.
No, he was not. Joe Burrow was a bad boy at LSU. Zach Mettenberger, not so much. But I know what you mean. Vince Young was a bad boy, and we know what Vince Young's problems were.
Vince Young turned in the greatest college performance I've ever seen.
Then again, Vince Young, like the natural talent Vince Young had, I mean, he won himself 30 games in the NFL just off of natural ability because there wasn't anything about development and coaching.
He's just the best athlete on the field. Yeah.
That went into Vince's NFL career. Corey, hot take Friday. What's your hot take this week?
You know what? I'm going to put it out there. Titans are going to win on Sunday. Boom.
That was my take too. Give me a score.
20-17.
I mean, I'm going 9-7. I don't know where we're getting 20 points from. Right?
Well, Jordan Mason did run for like $160 against the Jets on Monday night. Jets go out to the West Coast for Monday Night Football, fly back to New York, have to fly here. It's not a great scenario for them, but who knows? They didn't look great. I also think that the Snead matchup on Garrett Wilson's a favorable one for them because Wilson's not necessarily the best against man press. He's much better against zone statistically. So we'll see if that holds up because that's definitely where Aaron Rodgers wants to go with football.
Corey Curtis,
it's going to be interesting to see.
Corey Curtis from News 2, as always, on our program. I disagree, but I still love.
You know what? That's what makes it entertaining. If we agreed on everything, it would just be boring. We'd be like an old married couple.
Yeah, nobody wants that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number on the program, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, I do want to get to that. Plus, one person I respect, former NFL executive, former coach, been in the media for a while, a guy I respect, was asked, would the Titans pull the plug on Levis and go to Rudolph? What he had to say about it, we'll do that coming up next here on the program. And be sure to tune into the sounds today on 94.9 The Fan. First pitch at 6:35. Pregames at 6:20. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com. Sounds Baseball this season presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Just coming to work the same way I have every day, regardless of what happens the day before. And that's been the MO since day one. I feel like it's also a part of my game that I've improved on a lot in my career. There have been times where a game like that would have lingered for days, weeks, and really just kept getting to me. But I didn't lose sleep Sunday night. I knew that I'm a good quarterback in this league, and obviously a lot of things to get better on. But watching that tape, I still have that confidence and knowing that it's just kind of a fluke play that I can definitely learn from. So, I've still got all the confidence in the world in this team and everything. Just got to come to work every day the same way, regardless of what happens.
Okay, that was Will Levis right there saying, I didn't lose any sleep after what happened Sunday. You didn't? I mean, I don't want to say I lost some sleep on your behalf, but I was a depressed Titans fan on Sunday night, I'll tell you. But Pat Kerwin has been around the NFL forever. He's been in the media for like the last 25 years. He was an executive in the NFL. He was a former coach, and he hosts on NFL radio on Sirius XM. And he was asked, okay, what should the Titans, if things continue to go the way they've gone, should they pull the plug on Levis and at some point flip it to Mason Rudolph? Here's what Pat Kerwin, a guy whose respect I have an immense amount of respect for. Here's what Pat Kerwin said.
I don't think they'll pull the plug on Levis. They got to make this work. But I think it's a rough ride for a while. And, today he's talking about, I think I'm a good quarterback, and I don't say any of that stuff publicly. Just go out and get ready to play better. That's all. But I don't think they're going to turn to Rudolph right away. I think this is the guy they're going to ride with, and I think he's going to be good enough. So you got to give him time. He's had 10 career starts. How can we even evaluate him, right? I quote Gil Brandt all the time, 20 starts before you evaluate him. He has 10 starts. He's got a 3-7 record. He only threw 9 touchdowns in 10 games. That's terrible. His sack ratio is 1 every 10. All right. So, and if you get after him, which is now, point towards the blocking for a minute, if you can get after him, he's 0-5 when he gets sacked 3 times. So I'm not sold on him, but I don't think they're going to be bailing out on him either.
Okay. The most important thing he said in that is when he quoted the late Gil Brandt, and he said, you got to wait 20 games on a quarterback. Well, we're 10 games in, which means 10 games to go. So that would be about week 11. I'm fine with waiting that long. I mean, I'm really fine at this point with waiting the whole season. Because the one thing I know about Mason Rudolph is this. If you go to Mason Rudolph at quarterback, he's going to win some games. He's not going to win a lot of games, but he's going to win some games at quarterback. He's going to game manage you to victory. He would have done it on Sunday against the Bears. And I'm not even a Mason Rudolph fan. But if you were to go 4 or 5 games in and flip the keys to Rudolph, and you're 1-4, and you turn it over to Rudolph and he goes out there and everything, if that's the case, then you're going to finish with 6 or 7 wins, and you're going to be picking 7, 9, somewhere like that, and you won't be able to pick a young quarterback to come in here. So now you got to go to the free agent market. So it's going to be a Kirk Cousins type quarterback or Sam Darnold or something like that. And again, we're trying to find a superstar around here to play quarterback. So I can live with 10 more games. And Pat just told you, like, hey, it's going to be rough for a little bit. I'm okay with 10 more games. And if Will Levis is still doing stupid stuff 10 games from now, and I think he will be, because I think the jump in season from season 1 to season 2 is actually more important than the jump from, again, game 19 to game 20. But if he's still doing the stupid stuff then okay. Everybody has to reassess. But I think I can live with week 11 and saying, okay, now you got to make a call. Because, again, people are like, well, if you don't believe in Will Levis right now anyways, what are you going to – there's nothing you can do. Just like there's nothing you can do to fix the offensive line other than go coach them harder, Bill Callahan. There's nothing you can do. It is, at that point, what it is. That's it. Can't coach them harder. Can't. They're not changing, boys. I think that's the old saying. Todd Haley, the old coach, told me that Bill Parcells used to say, they ain't changing, boys. So he's the quarterback, and the other option's a game manager who's going to, again, win you 7 or 8 games. Kind of like Kerry Collins when Kerry was here. Now, I still think Kerry was probably a little bit better than Mason Rudolph, but he wasn't the starting quarterback that he was with the Giants when he was here as the backup, and he game managed you to 13-3 because you had an elite defense and Chris Johnson at running back and a good offensive line with Mike Munchak coaching him, which is also pretty important. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. Add that to the list if you want to weigh in on that here on the program. Stillman and Company, we'll get to your phones next. 615-737-1025 here on 102.5, 106 through the game. Fireball Whiskey. Right, there's no better way to celebrate the start of fall. It really is the start of fall. We're in the middle of September. There's no better way to do that than with ice cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. If you're going to be hanging out this weekend, and Ian, I am hopeful that tonight at around 10:30 p.m. I can pour a nice Fireball shot to celebrate what I hope. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but what I hope will be the Industry Person of the Year for the Canadian Country Music Awards.
Okay.
I am hopeful we can celebrate with an ice cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. I mean, I can, she can't, obviously, but I'm very, very excited. So that's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey, night to night. Please do responsibly and be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Tell me something good about the quarterback, because I am very disappointed in Sunday's performance and do not have much faith going into Sunday against the Jets.
Because I went back and looked at the film. I want to see why he threw the interception and why, the decision maker was kind of off a little bit. And as you look at it, I think it's kind of correctable. And me and Derek talked about this on the show, when we did our pre-show game last Sunday, is don't try to play the hero ball. Don't try to make something happen when nothing's there. If you just look at the whole situation, when he threw the pick six, if he just gets sacked and holds onto the ball, you can live another play and then also try to make a play on the next play. So, it's just, I don't like to say bonehead play because I'll never disrespect another player. I just think that it was a really, really bad decision on throwing that pick six.
There you go. That was Chris Sanders saying, I don't want to call anybody a bonehead, but it was a bad decision to throw that pick six. I think the differences between me and Chris and Corey and everybody else is I just think when everyone's like, oh, no, it'll be fine. These are correctable mistakes. I'm like, but I haven't seen the corrections. So why now am I going to think he's going to make these corrections where everyone else is like, oh, no, they'll correct it. Like, okay. Make of it what you will. Phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com at 615-737-1025. Ian, we need your opinion on this.
Oh, boy.
Randy texts in. He says it's going to be interesting once you're a parent, how you view expectations and how that's going to change. It doesn't matter if you're talking about your expectations for the Titans and their players or your own child. You'll have an entirely different view on how you address both meeting expectations and expectations that aren't met. I guarantee it, Randy says. Ask any parent, and then he capitalizes the P in parent. Ask any parent out there. Ian, you're a parent.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Granted, my, children are both under 5 and under. So not quite to like expectations levels, for, sports or anything like that.
Right. Like you have no expectation for May to do anything other than to just
like, hey,
not,
have fun, just be a kid. So it's kind of like, hey, but I mean, there is, to some truth as far as like everybody kind of does things at their own pace. And even when you're a kid and you're, a baby, and every baby is different, every child is different. So it's just some kids go at a different pace and do things quicker and slower at certain things than others. And it's just, you kind of just roll with the flow.
So do you think my expectations on the Titans will change because I'll be a parent?
I don't know about expectations for the Titans, but you might be a little bit more lenient when it comes to some criticism. I could buy that.
So here's what I think, and I could be totally wrong about this. I don't think I'm changing on the radio. Like, I think I'll change. My priorities will change. My priorities have already changed. My priorities have changed significantly since I found out I was going to be a parent. But I don't think my priorities on the radio are going to change. Like, my priority as to where the radio show may lie probably changes a little bit simply because, right now it's number one, but it won't be number one then. But again, I don't think like my expectations on the radio change. I don't think the show changed. I don't think that, just because I have a kid, and again, I could be totally wrong about it. They're going to be talking through my rear end. But I don't think all of a sudden, because I have a child, I'm going to be on the air, say this were last Monday, but it's, next season, and say, well, it's okay that they lost that game to the Bears. Maybe it does. I don't know. But I don't think that's going to happen. Could be wrong. Mike from Nashville says, do you think Mason Rudolph gives the Titans a better chance to win? My question is, win what? Does Mason Rudolph give you a better chance to win the Super Bowl? No, he does not. Because you have no chance to win the Super Bowl with Mason Rudolph, and I don't think you really have a chance to win the Super Bowl right now with Will Levis. Does Mason Rudolph give you a better chance to win on Sunday? Yes. Because if the coach says to Mason Rudolph before the fourth quarter, whatever you do, nothing stupid, then I guarantee you will not see Mason Rudolph go out there and backhand the ball 10 yards down the field right into the arms of a defensive back to run it into the end zone for a touchdown. Does Mason Rudolph give you a better chance to win in the future? Like next season and the year after that and the year after that? Probably not. So it's a very loaded question when you ask me, if I think that Rudolph gives you a better chance to win. Do I think he gives you a better chance to win on Sunday? Yes. Everything else, it's iffy. Because Ben says if Levis plays till week 11, the Titans will probably be somewhere around 3-7. And then Rudolph will still get them to 6 or 7 wins. So maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. I do think Mason Rudolph is going to win games if he's the quarterback. Just not a lot of them. I think Mason Rudolph's probably a 5 or 6 win quarterback. So if Levis goes for 2/3 of the year and wins you 3 games, and then you have a third of the year, then Rudolph probably wins you 1 more, 1 or 2. Now, if the defense is super elite, then maybe that changes the discussion at least a little bit. One texter says, I'm a parent, and there's a difference when you're raising your kid and saying, have fun. But as a coach and a teacher, Levis is an adult, and right now he's uncoachable, and that won't change. That's what I think. That's what I thought. If we were going to see a change in kind of the way he handles the game, we would have seen the change from week 1 or from year 1 to year 2. One texter says, I have 3 kids and I'm still critical of my favorite sports team. I do not understand the correlation. Although I'm kind of hating on John because his previous text into the text line was saying that my reaction to DeMario when Will Levis made up a player on the Jets earlier this week was over the top. I'm still mad about that. I mean, you guys can say it doesn't matter all you want. That doesn't, I don't know if you guys have learned this over the years. You saying, that's so dumb, Jared, and then 15 other people saying something like that, that's not going to change my opinion. I find that to be excuse making. We don't want to crap on Levis, so we'll just pretend like it's not a big deal. Not I'm going to convince you that you are wrong about this because I thought it was so stupid. Steven from Hendersonville says, it's hilarious Jared doesn't believe the softening is coming. I think the softening is coming. I just don't think the softening on the radio is coming.
Oh, you'll still rip the Titans, but
thank you.
But, just maybe some extra perspective wouldn't hurt here and there.
Extra perspective to rip them?
Sure.
Or to not rip them?
Both.
We'll see. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I am picking the Titans to win on Sunday. Somebody actually texted me. They said, I got this big parlay going, and I, what do we think about the Titans? I was like, I think they're going to win. I don't feel very good about it, though. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And I do wonder what happens if they don't on Sunday. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live today from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. I am picking the Tennessee Titans to win. And I am picking the Tennessee Titans to win an ugly 9-7 rain-filled, defensive, muddy, ugly, dirty game. One touchdown early, Jets up 7-0. Titans Twitter goes insane with how bad the offense will look. And then somehow, some way, they'll find a way to kick 3 field goals, force 1 turnover, and they'll beat Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. That's my opinion of the game. And the only reason I can come up with this is because I've seen this far too many times in my life where I think the Titans have absolutely no chance, and then the Titans find a way to win. But boy, let me tell you something. They really, 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 really need to win on Sunday. Because if they don't, it's going to get ugly around here. The fans can rationalize what happened last week for only so long. Then it gets to the point to where that anger rises and fans get really, really, really angry and they don't let up. See, the Titan fans this week let up their anger. There was all the excitement. There was all the hype, the just sunshine pumping for 9 months since the day Brian Callahan got there. It was nothing but lollipops and rainbows. And every time they screwed up in practice on offense, it's because they had a good defense. And even when they screwed up against the Seahawks in the joint practices on offense, it was because they're ironing out the kinks. And when Levis and Ridley couldn't connect, oh no, they'll figure it out. People said the same thing in Cincinnati about Jamar Chase not being able to catch the ball. And look at Jamar Chase now. But that's fine until we start playing. In fact, I thought that Brian Callahan's positive disposition was actually a negative for the team and its fan base because I think it raised expectations to a place to where they shouldn't be. When I came out before the season and said 7-10, people said, oh, no. I'm like, you do realize that's what most people think your team is going to be, right? When Ian and I put together our preseason expectations and we had 5 wins and 4 wins, Ian's apparently had 4 wins. When we put together our preseason, people, oh no, we're better than we were last year. Jared, so people can only hold on to that for so long. Titan fans were mad about what happened last Sunday, but they let it go after Monday. And each day since then, there's been a little bit more rationalizing the loss. There's been a little more acceptance. There's been a little less anger each day and a little more optimism about the Jets game. But again, you lose on Sunday, you go to 0-2, you can't say, well, it's just a game. And at some point, people over there start to feel the heat. If Mike Vrabel couldn't handle that heat that came over the last 5 weeks of the season last year, what makes you think everybody over there now can? And I'll say this, and I totally believe it, and the Titans can say that's not true until the cows come home. But if Mike Vrabel could have handled the heat for the last month of the year, if every question didn't have to be a war, if everything didn't have to be walking off because he's asked about Craig Aukerman after he fired him, walking off the press conference set, or when asked about Rand saying, I want to be here and do this the right way. And if it could have just been sucking it up, breathing it in. Okay, Paul, ask your bullcrap question. He asks it, and you give a reasonable answer. I think Vrabel will still be the coach. I really believe that. But he couldn't handle the heat. And so if the Titans don't win on Sunday, it's going to get bad. And it's going to get bad for Will Levis, assuming he doesn't throw for 350 yards in a loss. And considering he's never done that, I have a hard time believing that's what would happen. And I think it starts to get bad for Rand Carthon too. Brian Callahan, I think, will have to take some of the heat because he's the one who has to face the music after the game. He's the one that has to get up there and explain. And if they're the same mistakes that are being made, then he's going to have to be the one who has to explain why they're not getting better at this, why they still can't pass protect, why the quarterback can't make good decisions, why they're wasting good defense, why they got special teams. He's going to have to be the one to answer for that. But again, Mike Lombardi said there was a power struggle between Carthon and Vrabel, and Carthon won. And he said that Carthon won because he convinced the owner that Will Levis was the guy. And if the Titans don't win, and it starts to look like Will Levis isn't the guy, then the Mike Lombardis of the world, the pro-Vrabel crowd, and you know that exists, will get louder and louder and louder. And it will get ugly around here. Last year, Rand got the benefit of the doubt from ownership and some of the fans. I don't think Rand got the benefit of the doubt from 100% of the fans, but he did get the benefit of the doubt from some of the fans. I don't know what will happen if this goes on this year. Things get out of whack. Last year didn't have a press conference. Doesn't do that this year. That might be detrimental. So I will tell you this. Floyd used to always tell me that Al Davis one time got up in an owners meeting and he said, boys, we have the best product in the country. Don't screw it up. And he knew it because he knew how popular football was across America. And everybody still cares. Bud Grant used to tell him, coaching in the NFL is the best job in the world when you win. The Titans, I will say this, the good news is it looks like they're going to be playing Malik Willis in week 3, and it looks like they might be playing Skylar Thompson in week 4. But I'm telling you, even though the Titans are not favored to beat the Jets, this fan base is expecting the Titans to beat the Jets on Sunday. And I don't think you should expect the Titans to beat the Jets. But I'm just telling you, this fan base is expecting it. And if they get upset again, I don't know how the fans are going to feel about the Heat. And I don't know how the Titans are going to take it. You know, Levis can get up there and say, I didn't lose any sleep after last Sunday's game. And Titan fans, because once again, Titan fans have decided after they were mad about it on Monday, they decided on Tuesday it was only one game and they still believe and it'll be okay and it'll be fine and on we go. They're not going to feel that way if it happens in 2 games because you can't then rationalize with yourself that it was only one game. So again, I remember when the Vrabel stuff happened last year. And I remember at the end of the year, I was talking to Buck about this. And I remember saying 6 weeks is a long time. And each time Vrabel went out there and did something, it just made it worse. And that was the heat of not winning. I mean, I almost wonder if Mike Vrabel had beaten the JV Texans in the Oiler uniforms if he'd still have his job. I really, really wonder that. So again, when it comes to the Titans, I mean, I am picking the Titans to win. I'm not expecting the Titans to win, but I am picking them. But at the same time, and nobody gets in trouble for something they haven't done yet, but Titan fans were told this was going to be a better season, this was going to be a better team. And if through 2 weeks it doesn't look like a better season and a better team, and it looks like the same old crap from the last 2 years, they ain't going to be very happy. And they're not going to start all of a sudden rationalizing and accepting on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday the way they have this week. So I'm just telling you right now, this will be a great opportunity if you win. But you better win this week. And with the owner, there is no telling what getting off to a bad start will mean for her. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. A lot of people want to weigh in on this. And I know a lot of people think that Will Levis will change. He will learn. Chris Sanders said it's correctable. I don't know if the Jets feel that way. We'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. And then we're to your phone, Stillman and Company, 1025, 106 through the game.
Jets defense, Will, it was pretty uncharacteristic for them on Monday night to give up 8 straight scoring drives. What are you kind of seeing from them on tape right now?
They're looking good. It's different defense in terms of where we think the holes are and where we think our opportunities are compared to last week, which is cool. So I feel like we have some good stuff lined up for them. Obviously, a good defensive front, and we're gonna have things to handle. Those interior guys and protection, and then secondary. They're really good, really solid on the outside. Obviously 1, but 4-2. He's going to be good out there for them, and hopefully we just find ways to take easy throws, then also find ways to develop one-on-one shots down the field. So they're good for a reason. They do things well. DeMario does a great job of leading them in the middle there, and like I said, I feel like though we do have some good things that we're going to be able to work against them and hopefully open up and give us some good ops.
DeMario. Hopefully they can take advantage of DeMario this week. He's done a good job for the Jets so far. There's not a DeMario on their team, but that's okay. That's okay. Let me just say this. This is a question I have because, boy, the text line's blown up with people that are mad. Because, again, I've just said if they lose on Sunday, and I think they're going to win. But if they lose on Sunday, it's going to get uglier. People are like, that's the bad radio, Jared. You're just starting stuff. You're just... And I'm like, okay. Then what more do we expect? Like if he threw for 129 yards on Sunday and 2 interceptions and 1 touchdown, and he missed Calvin Ridley on the deep balls, what do we expect now? Do we expect him to be 65%? Do we expect him to throw for 250? Do we expect there to be 1 interception or less? Like, somebody tell me. Because it's all like just this, oh no, Jared, it'll be better. You'll see. You'll see. Like this one texter said, we're inventing worst case scenarios 1 week into the season. Put on the YouTube chat. I'm like, worst case scenario? I said if they lose. If they lose, it's going to get bad. That is a 50-50 outcome. Win or lose. I guess you could tie, but win or lose. Phone line streamed by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Gerald has been waiting patiently and is up next on the program on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Gerald, go ahead.
Hey, man. Kind of becoming a big fan of you. Just found this channel a few days ago and have been listening to it nonstop. I listen to it in the morning and in the afternoon. But talking about how you think Tennessee's going to win, I really don't see how Aaron Rodgers is going to come into this game and not just take over. Last week Tennessee, when they did do good in the first half, it was pretty much just Pollard in the first half. Like they really, and I think the Jets just have a better defense, and I think they're just going to stop them, and they're not going to be able to get much going on.
So, Gerald, I want you to know, and I appreciate your call, and I appreciate you finding our station. And, again, we're always picking up new people, it feels like, every day, so we're thankful for that. When I picked the Titans to win 9-7, there was not an ounce of expecting 9-7 to happen. Not 1 ounce. It's just, I look at everything, like if I were to put on paper, we did this earlier today in the show when we went over that whole kind of who has the edge between the two teams. Quarterback, who has the edge? Jets. Running back, who has the edge? Jets. Receivers, who has the edge? Jets. Offensive line, who has the edge? Jets. Defensive line, Titans. Linebackers, Jets. Defensive backs, Jets. Special teams, Jets. Coaching, even. It's like there doesn't seem to be a lot adding up for how the Titans are going to win this game. On top of it, the Jets just got embarrassed on Monday Night Football against San Francisco. And unlike you that got embarrassed locally, they got embarrassed around the country where people are yelling and screaming every time they turn on the TV. People can't believe it. It's like, oh my God, what's going on here? And so I don't necessarily see a path to victory. I guess defense can rule the day and they can eke out an ugly victory and everything else. But, I don't think the Jets are going to let you turn around and hand the ball to Tony Pollard 15 times right up the middle and move the ball down the field. Not with their linebackers led by DeMario and Quinnen Williams and those guys. There's no way that they're going to let you do that, in my opinion. But I've seen this so many times over the years where I'm like, they can't. There's no way this is going to happen. There's no way they'll find it, though. And then it's like, oh, my God. How did they do it? How did they do it? And that's the best I can give you. So I feel like, Gerald, you're on the same wavelength with me. I'm not sure I necessarily see it that way, but whatever it may be. One texter says, Zach Taylor went 2-14 his first year in Cincinnati. Expectations for this year's team was set too high, and it will take time. Unfortunately, starting 0-1 with poor quarterback play is cause for full-blown freakouts by the fan base. Well, let me say this. Zach Taylor took over a team with Andy Dalton at quarterback, and A.J. Green got hurt, and they were really bad that first year, and they ended up getting to pick Joe Burrow. But, that team didn't have a young quarterback. This team has, again, I'm not a humongous fan of this young quarterback anymore, but this team was supposed, hey, we got a young quarterback. We're going to build around the young quarterback. That right there, I have an issue with, is the idea that, hey, this is going to be like the same in Cincinnati because Brian Callahan was there and Brian Callahan's here and this is going to be the same thing. Again, Mike Lombardi said, and I totally believe this, Brian Callahan got the job because Amy Adams Strunk wanted to develop Will Levis. Now, I'm not saying Zach Taylor didn't get the job to win with Andy Dalton because I don't know. But I am telling you that it was like, okay, now we know on Andy Dalton, let's move on and draft Joe Burrow. And then he had the opportunity under Joe Burrow. Ian, Alex from Franklin is losing his mind.
About what?
Alex says, Jared, and I actually think Alex is like a pretty big homer. I could be wrong about this. Jared, I've been unable to text this week because of work, but Brian Callahan needs to be one and done like Nathaniel Hackett, mainly because of him throwing Levis under the bus and breaking his promise about fixing Levis. Brian Callahan may be worse than Ken Wisenhunt. He just doesn't have the arrogance of him, and he has better OR skills. He has better OR skills. Better OR skills than Vrabel. I'm thinking it's PR. That's probably what he was looking for.
Probably, yeah.
Better PR skills than Vrabel. Let me say this about Brian Callahan. I think Brian Callahan, first of all, I know Brian Callahan's a good man.
It's been one game.
He's a good man. I think he's a good coach. I don't know it. And that's why I had to go even on coaching when picking who had the edge between the Titans and the Jets, because I think Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, is a total doofus. And I still had to go even. But I think Brian Callahan, I don't think Brian Callahan's going to get up there at the podium every day and tell you the unvarnished truth. And I don't think anybody would do that. I wouldn't do that if I was the coach. But I do think that Brian Callahan can smell the coffee. Whereas I think sometimes people in this organization can't. I think Brian Callahan can smell the coffee. One texter says, I appreciate you telling it how it is, but this is even out there for your show. We somehow went from Levis having a bad half to this whole worst case scenario where Amy fires Ran. I agree with Corey here. It's not fair to give Levis the benefit of the doubt anymore, but I don't get why you're acting like his potential as a starter and for the team to have a good season could already be over. We need a bigger sample size before the bye to see how coachable he really is. Well, let me break this down into all these different little areas. Let's start with the fact that now it's turned in. Ian, have you seen this? It's now turned into a bad half.
It was one bad half.
Remember, it was one bad game for most of this week, was what we were being told.
Yeah, Corey made a good point today.
On Monday, it was like, oh, God, oh, he's such a dope. And that's true because that's what we all experienced Sunday. But as we've distanced ourselves from the hurt of what happened Sunday, we're rationalizing it even more because I felt a serious shift from Monday to Tuesday where I felt like most people were saying, oh, it's okay. It's one bad game. It's one bad game. That's it. And now it's Friday. It's one bad half. You see how that is? Soon it's going to be one bad throw. And that's how we're going to take it. So let's look at this as a whole. First of all, it wasn't like the first half was a good first half for Will Levis. He missed Calvin Ridley on a deep ball. The touchdown pass he threw to Chig was a very interceptable pass. And Chig made a great play on it, which is probably the first of his career. Just a great play by Chig. But to sit there and say like, oh, he had a good first half, it was just a couple of bad, here and there. The coach told him, do not do anything stupid. We could punt the ball. We could punt the ball on first down. Now, again, the problem with that is that you have to be able to punt it, which the Titans were unable to do on Sunday at Chicago, but I know what he means. And Levis went out and did the exact opposite. And I don't think that Levis tried to do the exact opposite. I just think that's his natural inclination. That's just what he does. That's just those natural reactions Holmes has that does some of these crazy, unbelievable things. We're like, oh my God, that's what Levis has, except that the oh my God is not, oh my God, that's incredible, Mahomes. Instead, it's, oh my God, he just did that. I remember when Coach Shoup was on the show for that, 6-month period or whatever, and the Titans played Cincinnati and they got beat. And I was talking about how I was at the game. And I looked at Joe Burrow and I was like, Joe Burrow is like John Elway. He's built like John Elway. He's athletic like John Elway. He's accurate like John Elway. He's John Elway. Like, this is the closest thing I've seen to John Elway in my life. And Coach Shoup was like, I see some of that, but I also see some of Joe Montana's cool. I remember when Solomon Wilcots came on our show at the Super Bowl to sell us those voodoo pills. And you remember that? Composure. I remember, I think it was like a Vidalia root, onion root. I don't remember. But composure. And I remember when Solomon at the Super Bowl he had like a little read in front of him that he was doing for these voodoo pills. And he was like, you know how Joe Montana is Joe Cool? Well, I like to call Joe Burrow Joe Calm. And there's something to that. Levis is the opposite of that. And being the opposite of Joe Montana is not what I want out of my quarterback. In fact, I want the opposite of Joe Montana, which is Joe Montana. And then the thing about how can we get to this discussion about Amy firing Rand? I didn't say Amy was going to fire Rand if they lose. I said it's going to get ugly around here. And it is going to get ugly around here. I already know. And I'm not talking about myself making it ugly. I'm talking about what the fans are going to react to. I'm going to feel however I feel after the game Sunday. I don't know how I'm going to feel because I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday. But I know this organization, and I know that if the owner loves you today and you lose tomorrow, she will totally change her mind. Because that's all we've seen over the last 2 years. 615-737-1025, which is our phone number, 615-737-1025. What one of the Jets players had to say about Will Levis. I don't think they thought it was one bad half. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Oh, let me tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook. That's right. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. And who's ready for more NFL this week? I am. And FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, is continuing to offer its special deal to keep people like you watching more. I've already got Sunday tickets, so I will be watching all the games on Sunday. And now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com/JGM to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/JGM to download America's #1 sportsbook. 21 and over and present in Tennessee, full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds, terms, and restrictions and embargoes apply. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
just coming to work the same way I have every day, regardless of what happens the day before. And that's been the MO since day one. I feel like it's also a part of my game that I've improved on a lot in my career. There have been times where a game like that would have lingered for days, weeks, and really just kept getting to me. But I didn't lose sleep Sunday night. I knew that I'm a good quarterback in this league, and obviously a lot of things to get better on. But watching that tape, I still have that confidence and knowing that it's just kind of a fluke play that I can definitely learn from. So, I've still got all the confidence in the world in this team and everything. Just got to come to work every day the same way, regardless of what happens.
I got all the confidence in the world that I'm a good quarterback. I know I'm a good quarterback. Based on what? Remember how mad some of you guys got when Madden Football ranked Will Levis the worst starting quarterback in the NFL?
Bad awareness.
I mean, so I get it. I mean, I understand confidence and you got to have it and don't lose the faith and all of that. But this whole I didn't lose sleep Sunday night because I know I'm still good. Buddy, I mean, I kind of wish you had lost some sleep. It's a bad thing of what you did on Sunday. Like, very, very bad. Like, Terry Bradshaw has a gold jacket, and he called you out. Bill Belichick has 6 Super Bowls, and he called you out. So, I don't know if this just, and I love, too, he's like, earlier in my career, those things might have gotten me down. It's like, well, but everyone's telling me I should accept your bullcrap because you're a young player, but now you're telling me you're a vet. What? I don't. And to me, I just think it's just words. Like, I just think it's just like I'm going to get up there and tell everybody that I still have faith because I'm trying to tell myself that. But I don't think the Jets are buying it. This is Jermaine Johnson, the defensive end. I actually forgot about him. He was picked in the first round or the second round a couple years ago, Ian. I believe the first round, right?
I think that is right. I can double check.
I kind of forgot about him, but he's, I guess, a starter on the Jets. And he was asked about Will Levis, and here's what Jermaine Johnson of the Jets had to say.
What are your impressions of Will Levis?
He's a talented athlete and can throw the ball pretty well. But just watching film and just understanding some things about him, especially when he comes out, he's one of those guys that kind of, when things aren't going his way, he kind of can panic a little early, and just understanding how we can get him to that point as a defense and kind of how we can capitalize off of that. So just understanding how we're going to go throughout the week, understanding that what we can do on defense to make sure that we win this game.
I mean, he just told you right there. He just told you. He said, hey, he can throw the ball now. And, he's got talent and he's a good athlete and, all of that. Because, again, the Jets, they didn't go into the meeting room and say, all right, guys, Tennessee, number 8, he sucks. They didn't do that. They went into the meeting room and said, all right, Will Levis, number 8. He was taken in the second round a couple years ago. He can throw the ball down the field. So if you think I've already run 30 yards down the field, he's not going to throw it. All of a sudden, that ball might be 60 yards down the field. And you've always got to be paying attention because sometimes he doesn't know where he's putting it. And you may be able to pick a ball off here, but you got to be careful for him throwing it down the field. He also can get away and he can run and he can do things, and if he's running, don't just hold up thinking he's going to slide because he might not. So let's be sure that if he doesn't take a slide, let's make him pay for it. And then the one thing we feel like, boys, is if we can get him on tilt, he's going to do something to lose the game for him. That's a game plan. That's the team meeting. That's what they said because they know what I know, which you guys don't want to admit, which is when the going gets tough, Will Levis reverts back to panic ball, and that's how you see the YOLO throws against Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay and Chicago and the JV Texans and the mistakes that come. And I know Will Levis led them back against Miami, and that was great. And I would also argue I thought Will Levis did a good job leading them back against Indianapolis at home last year. It's not like he's incapable of winning a game. But it is more likely than not that if you get him on tilt, he's going to screw up. And the Jets know it. And that's why they said it. They know it. 615-737-1025. Mark has been waiting patiently and is up next here on the program. Mark, thank you for calling.
Hey there. I watched that game Sunday, and honestly, I mean, and I got to tell you, I'm a Bears fan. I live here in Nashville, and the Titans are my second team. I thought Levis showed a lot of funk in that game. I saw him throw a couple of third down passes and get absolutely hammered, standing in the pocket and completing the passes in the second half. When the O-line that had been pretty stout in the first half kind of caved in on him. And outside of the one stupid, desperation trying to get rid of the ball thing that ended up being the game winner for the Bears, I really thought, and I think you're underrating his performance in the first half. I've seen too many bad quarterbacks to say that this kid is a bad quarterback. It's just,
Mark, he threw for 129 yards.
Well, that may be, but part of it was whatever happened to the Bears defense in the second half, that they changed their scheme, or they spread their defensive ends out wider, whatever the coach said that they did. It changed the whole scheme, and suddenly he was under pressure the whole time. I just feel like he stood in there. Do
we have any expectation?
I think he looked.
You think he looked good? You think he looked good on Sunday?
I thought he looked good in the first half, and I thought that under major duress in the second half, he completed a couple of first down passes on third down and took a major hit. At least one time I saw him just get smashed into the ground, but he stood
That's not a good thing, Mark.
Pocket, took the
That's
hit.
not a good thing. That is a problem that he constantly gets himself in harm's way.
Well, it's the kind of thing that Brett Favre always did. It's the kind of thing that I think it's kind of funny that Bradshaw criticized him, because Bradshaw is the same kind of quarterback.
He was 9 of 15 for 67 yards in the first half.
Well,
that's not good. Thank you for your call, Mark. That's not good. Stop lowering the bar all the way to the bottom. Hey, I saw him complete a ball on third down to Calvin Ridley. That has to be good. It's the NFL. It's the NFL. He threw for 67 yards in the first half. Tony Pollard rushed for 64. Tony Pollard rushed for as many yards as he threw for, and you want to tell me that he played well? He got 22 of those on one throw. So take the 122-yard completion out. That's 8 completions. What is 67 minus 22? That is 45. So 45 divided by 8. It's actually not that bad, 5.6 yards per completion. But, as far as attempts, it's probably a lot lower. That's awful. Awful. He had a 22-yarder and a 17-yarder to Chigakonkwo. That's awful. And you're going to say, actually, I thought it was very impressive in the first half. Very impressive because he didn't make any massive mistake? Yay! Oh, God. If you were to say, hey, I felt like Will Levis went out there and, I don't even know what you could say to put lipstick on that pig. I don't. And I'm not going to try as much as I think some people want to out there. John in Nashville's up next here on the program. John, thank you for calling. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead, John.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, go.
Hey, I want him to be like another young quarterback that just came into the league a couple of years ago. He started the season late, played about 10 games, got hurt, came back and started his second year with about 10 games under his belt. And that's Brock Purdy. I want him to be like Brock Purdy. Learn the plays, learn the routes, understand where the ball needs to go, and just throw a ball to the open receiver. I don't need him to play hero ball, which is what he tries to do now. And
I don't think he tries. John, I think you're off on this, and I appreciate your call. He has no chance of being Brock Purdy. In fact, his strengths are the exact opposite of Brock Purdy's strengths, and Brock Purdy has the best coach and 2 receivers and the second best tight end and the best left tackle and the best running back, and so he has no shot to be Purdy. But again, I don't think Levis tries to play hero ball. I think Levis plays panic ball. I thought we had a great call on Monday where I think it was Lorenzo called in and he said, everybody keeps saying Levis is out there playing hero ball. He's not playing hero ball. He's playing panic ball. And I'm like, that's so true. And Tim Kelly realized it after the Pittsburgh game. And that's why in the Tampa Bay game, he said, no, we're going to throw bubble screens to Kyle Phillips because you're going to get us beat. Like, we have a chance to come back and win the game. But if we take if we do the things that you do when you start to feel like the game's getting away, if you do those things, we have no chance to win. So we're going to throw it short to Kyle Phillips and see if he can run with the ball, since that's the best we can do. And that is, I think, a little disappointing. Kenny the mailman's up next here on the program. Kenny, thank you for calling. Go ahead, Kenny.
One of the best traits a person could have is to be totally self-aware, to know where you are and your skills. You're a radio host. You know you can't miss commercial breaks. I'm a mailman. I know I can't leave packages on the wrong stairs. And when I do, I ought to say, I didn't do right. I listened to that press conference, and I don't even know if that was the same game we were watching. Do people realize the Titans did not cross midfield in the second half? I've never heard of a pro team doing that before. Have you?
Kenny, it was just one bad half.
They completed only one pass over 18 yards. And remember the crazy flip that cost them the game? Nobody's talking about it. He did that also in the third quarter, and the coaches didn't go nuts and say, don't ever do that again. He threw it down in the middle of the lineman. It could have easily bounced straight up off a lineman's leg and been intercepted there. So, you know, I know he's just starting and everything, but he is 25, and there's certain things you can't do. He says he's going to play his game. I'd rather he play the coach's game until he learns about his game.
Kenny, good call.
Yeah, have a good day.
Kenny, amen. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 here on the program. By the way, there is something that I don't know if it's going to be a thing, but I think it should. We'll get to that and more of your phones here on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. I love Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. It goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. There's no better way to start off the weekend and ignite the night than to do so with ice-cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. That's right. I love Fireball Whiskey. Again, it tastes so great and it goes down so smooth. There is no better way to enjoy the weekend. That's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Ignite the night. Please do it responsibly and be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
The pressure on the Jets, who look like a contender. It's one thing, Bart Scott, to look the way they looked on the road against one of the best teams in the NFL and one of the best coaches. Why are you doing that?
I'm just looking at the gym. I cannot believe this guy, man.
We cannot believe what?
I can't believe this was my general manager, man.
Okay, put the pics up. I can see what he's seeing.
I can't even look at it. I can't even look at you right now. I know Bill's your guy, man, but come on, man.
If you
Are you
put the
serious?
pics on the screen, the reason that Bart is reacting is because Mike Tannenbaum is predicting that the Titans will win this game. Why is that?
I understand the Trojan horse over here, but not you.
Yeah, Bart, because you can't fix run defense so quickly. Look at the Miami Dolphins, right? Jacksonville last week, they rushed for 128 yards. Last night, Buffalo ran right down the field. James Cook was over 5 yards a carry. And to me, Bill Callahan, the father of the head coach of Brian Callahan, on Saturday night in that team meeting, they're going to say 4 yards or more, we're going to run it again. And until the Jets could prove that they could stop the run, Tennessee is going to be able to control the line of scrimmage. I think they win the game.
So that was Mike Tannenbaum on ESPN. Ian, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that's going to work.
What's that?
I don't think the idea of just running it right down their throat is going to work on Sunday.
Yeah, you think they'll adjust?
I think they watch the Bears tape. They'll do what the Bears did. Whatever it is the Bears did to stop the Titans running the ball, they'll do the same thing. Plus, they know they gave up all those yards. They got challenged in their manhood on national TV. And they've got Quinnen Williams, and they've got C.J. Mosley, and they've got Quincy Williams, and they've got, they can stop the run. So I hope he's right.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Titans, but I don't think the idea that Bill Callahan's going to run the ball every play, I don't think that's going to happen.
San Francisco's run game is, next level as far as the blocking scheme and the linemen and all that stuff.
Plus, the Jets probably didn't prepare, just for San Francisco to run the ball down their throat like that. Whereas
especially
with
without
the Titans,
McCaffrey.
I can promise you, they went in the meeting room and they were like, Tony Pollard's best player they got. And every player there for the Jets was like, that makes sense to me because I look at the board and I know DeAndre's hurt and old. But other than that, I don't know any of these guys anyways. Who the hell is Chigakonkwo? So, yeah, that makes sense to me. Tony Pollard's the best player. It reminded me last year of when the Titans played Pittsburgh on Thursday night. And Tomlin was talking about the challenges on defense. And he was talking about Derrick Henry for like a minute and a half. And then he talked about DeAndre for like a minute and a half. And he was like, when I look at the Titans, they have Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry runs the ball. And the way he runs it, he still runs it like Derrick Henry. And if we do not tackle him, it's going to be a long night. The way he runs the ball, he moves it effectively. We have got to be aware in our gaps and our spacing, and we have got to be sure that we get in there and that we hit him first. When it comes to DeAndre, it's still D-Hop out there watching the way he plays. He can this, he that, he's this. And Tomlin goes on, and he goes, Will, he's got some other eligibles, and like Okonkwo and the other guys. It was like Tomlin didn't know a single person on the Titans offense outside of Henry and Hopkins. And that's what it is now with Pollard and Hopkins and Ridley a little bit. But it's not like Ridley's really done a whole lot in his career. So really just Pollard and Hopkins. One texter says, Jared, you remember how the GM used to always say he could stop the run if he wanted to by bringing down one extra guy? Well, for 4 quarters, the 49ers absolutely just ran a Scarbini running back down the throat of the Jets. That is how they scored 20. I mean, maybe. I mean, look, I'm not going to say it's impossible. The one thing I will say, and I feel pretty comfortable saying it, is you ain't the 49ers. Like, you don't have the threat of the passing game that they have. You don't have Trent Williams, who they have. You don't have Kyle Shanahan, who they have. And even then, like, the Jets have been told all offseason their defense was great. And they went out there and they got embarrassed on national TV. And just like you guys tell me, well, Levis won't let that happen again, that stupid pick 6 he threw. Don't you think the Jets are going to say, we're not going to let them run the ball right down the middle on us? And there's no real fear of a passing game. If you get beat deep, first of all, they're going to put Sauce Gardner and who's the other guy? Whoever it is, DeMario. They're going to put DJ Reed. they're going to put Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed on Hopkins and Ridley. And even if they get beat deep, there's really not a fear that Levis is going to hit the throw.
Although Reed is a little shaken up
Banged
this
up.
week. Yeah, he
Yeah,
did
he's
not
got
practice. Did not practice today.
He
Officially
is questionable for the game.
Yeah.
You know, if Mike Tomlin was the coach, he'd tell you if the guy's going to play.
Would he?
Yeah. Brian Callahan kind of does this, but like Tomlin basically just is like, all right, I'm going to tell you all about the injuries. Johnny has a knee. He is questionable for the game, but he will play. Like that's, you know,
Yeah.
And I guess Brian Callahan's kind of the same way.
He does open up every presser with the injury situation and status.
By the way, do we count Taylor Lewan's report last week as correct?
No.
Even though DeAndre played when he said DeAndre wasn't going to play because DeAndre really didn't play.
Incorrect.
But he did. DeAndre didn't really play.
No.
I mean, he kind of played.
He played.
Ish.
I mean, he didn't make much of an impact, but he played.
Ian, you buying any of this Tannehill to the Dolphin smoke?
No, not really.
Do you think Tua's going to retire?
No, I do not.
I hope he does. Not because I don't want him to play, but just because I don't want to.
I'm not trying to. Yeah, I don't
Don't
really
want
want
to see his brain explode.
tell him what to do or anything, you know. But no, I don't think he'll retire.
Chad Withrow joins us from Outkick next on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. It's Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 The Game. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game National Studios on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. It is 5 o'clock, which we're joined by Chad Withrow from Outkick, presented by A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa. Chad, let's get right to it. Week 1 was ugly for Will Levis. Do you think this is a 1-week thing, or do you think this is a problem?
It's a huge problem. And I am dying laughing at a couple of your callers I just got a chance to hear. The one guy who acted like the first half was good or that any part of that game was good from Will Levis is really searching for something great. And then the other caller who called in and said that he wants Will Levis to be Brock Purdy. Well, Jared, I'm here to tell you, I wanted Jeremy Pruitt to be Kirby Smart when he was coaching Tennessee, and he wasn't. Will Levis is not Brock Purdy. Will Levis is a quarterback that has some physical things that you like about a quarterback. He's got a great arm. He's a good athlete. All the things we've said about him. There's also, and I think that everyone's going to have to come to grips with this fact, and I know we're 2 years removed from this. There's a reason Will Levis dropped to the second round. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a reason that the Titans should not have selected Will Levis in the second round. And that was my opinion then. And my opinion hasn't really changed. I was willing to give him a shot, but after seeing that game on Sunday, look, there's one thing you can't do in that game. Terry Bradshaw talked about it. Bill Belichick talked about it. Everyone's talked about it. You cannot lose that game for your defense when you're playing a rookie quarterback in their very first game and the other offense can't do anything. You cannot hand them the game. They could have punted on first down, like Callahan said after the game, and won it. And Will Levis lost the game for them. I'm going to repeat that so those callers and everyone else who want to defend Will Levis will clearly understand this. He lost the football game for the Titans. In game number 10, in year number 2, he personally lost the football game for the Titans. It's inexcusable, and he continues to me with these press conferences and interviews he does and everything else. He is showing more and more of why he fell to the second round. And honestly, I don't know if he would have been drafted in the second round, the Titans didn't do it. Because I think the rest of the league was probably out on the guy. And I can look at any ranking of quarterbacks in the NFL, and I know that all these writers get that from people with teams. They're getting that from teams that don't think Will Levis is any good. And I'm on board with them now as well.
Do you think that my issue with Levis on Sunday was not like Corey Curtis was on the show earlier, and he was talking about how his biggest concern were the overthrows with Calvin Ridley. That wasn't my biggest concern. I mean, that's a physical thing that maybe they can iron out. My problem was the stupid stuff. And the fact that I truly feel like, it's one thing if a rookie goes out there and does something stupid. It's another thing to me, Chad, when a second-year player goes out and does things that are stupid. And not one thing stupid, but multiple things stupid, especially after the coach said, don't do anything stupid. It tells me his brain just does not work out there on the football field when the going gets tough. Everybody says I'm being too harsh. I mean, it kind of sounds like you don't think I'm being too harsh, but why do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I don't think you're being harsh enough, honestly. And I love hearing from Kenny the Mailman, by the way. I miss that guy. But Kenny the Mailman was right. He did that same play earlier and got away with it. And I'm sure was told not to do it again and don't do anything to jeopardize the game for your team. And he did it again. He's not a smart football player. I think Will Levis is a smart guy. I think he's an intelligent dude. I don't think he's a smart football player. I don't think he's ever been a smart football player. I can go back to his time in Kentucky and show you a bunch of instances where I thought he made a dumb play or did something stupid. He's also doing this thing where he is he is unnecessarily twisting his torso or not setting his feet or not stepping with his feet. And it's like he's trying to look cool throwing the ball is all the only way I can describe it. And he doesn't have to at times. And that's getting frustrating also. He's developed some bad habits in his throwing motion and how he's trying to deliver the ball that I can't really explain other than to say he's just not a very smart football player. And when your quarterback is not smart in the game, that's a huge problem, especially in the NFL. You might get away with it in college because you're just so physically superior to everyone else. You are not going to get away with it in the NFL. And to go back to another caller, the flip side of that is Brock Purdy, who doesn't have a lot of the physical characteristics of other great quarterbacks in the league. But you know what he's got? Smarts. The dude is as intelligent of a football player as you're going to find. And he's not making plays like that. And because of that, he stays out of his roster's way, which is a very good roster, much better than the Titans. And because of that, they're able to win the NFC Championship and win football games.
Well, and I think that's why Kyle Shanahan went to him. Like, not went to him when everybody got hurt. He probably went to him because that was the only guy they had. But after having the sample size of Brock Purdy doing exactly what Kyle Shanahan told him to do, Shanahan probably felt a certain level of trust there that, okay, I don't need Jimmy Garoppolo because Jimmy won't do what I say, which is why I drafted Trey Lance, because I wanted to get somebody that would do what I say because Jimmy can't do it and Trey Lance can't do what I say. So Brock does literally everything I say, and that's all I need. And again, I keep going back to the coach telling Will Levis not to do anything stupid, and then Will Levis went out there and did something stupid. Chad Withrow with us on the program. Do you expect better out of Levis against Green Bay? Because I think most of the fans expect better on Sunday.
Against the Jets, you mean?
Yeah, Green Bay, Rodgers, the Jets, yes.
Yeah. Look, I would expect better out of them in both because my expectations are higher for a second-year player. Do I expect better? Yeah. I think he's going to be better at home. I think he'll be better against the Jets defense and the Bears defense. Do I think it's going to matter in the long run? No, I don't. And I'll also say this. When you make plays like Levis made, and then you come back and you start, I don't know how much players pay attention to what other guys say to the media, but when you come back and you say what he said, where, you know, it's just one fluke play and I'm still a great player and this and that.
I know I have what it takes.
I think at some point, Jared, you risk losing the locker room quickly. That's not what guys want to hear after that. You know, I didn't lose a wink of sleep after that game. I thought it was fine. You know, it was one fluke play, and I know that I'm a great quarterback and this and that. I mean, I wouldn't want to hear that if I'm a guy playing with Will Levis. So the whole thing leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and I don't know how anyone can be confident in Will Levis right now. I just really can't see it.
Do you think I made too big of a deal of Chad Withrow with us of Will Levis when talking about the Jets this week, mentioning DeMario in the middle of the defense when the Jets don't have a player named DeMario on their team?
It sounded like he was in the middle of like a comedy sketch where you're just improvising and you're trying to sound like someone. You know, you're in an improv group and they're like, okay, be an NFL quarterback for a little bit. And then the actor just starts saying words that they think is like an NFL quarterback. And that's how they come up with. Well, DeMario in the middle, you know, is looking good this weekend. I thought he's play acting. Honestly, NFL quarterback. I don't think he really is one right now. And he sounded like a guy that was play acting as a quarterback. That's what it sounded like to me. And you're right. Coming off that performance, you know, if he looks great, or even if he doesn't look great, if he does exactly what he does, throws for 100 and change and isn't very good, but just doesn't give the game to the Bears, you could have got away with that. But when you make multiple dumb plays like that and you make the play that costs your team the game, you especially can't get away with misidentifying a player on the other team the way he did.
Chad Withrow with us, presented by Moments Peace Salon and Day Spa. Do the Jets stink?
No, I don't think so. I think that the defense was surprising to me more than anything else. I don't think anything about their offense in that game really surprised me. I thought Aaron Rodgers was fine. You know, I didn't think he was great, but it was about what I expected from him coming off the injury. Their defense, that part of it surprised me. But no, I don't think they're bad at all. I think they're better than the Titans as a roster. But look, if they come in and lose this game, you want to talk about panic. There's going to be some panic from some Titans fans, but not nearly as much as you'll see in New York if the Jets come down here and lose.
So, and again, I don't cover the Jets every day, so I don't know the intricacies and everything else. If the Jets lose this game, I think Robert Saleh, I mean, it's just going to rain crap on Robert Saleh. If the Titans lose, I do think it's going to get bad around here. Now, they may be staring Malik Willis and Skylar Thompson in the face weeks 3 and 4, which, again, don't want anybody to get hurt, but that certainly doesn't make things worse for the Titans. But I think there are a lot of Titan fans that were told this was going to be a good team this year. We pushed back on it saying, well, hold on. And if they start 0-2 and the quarterback looks terrible, I think it's going to get bad around here, Chad.
I think if they start 0-3 and lose to Malik Willis, that Amy's going to fire somebody. I don't know who, but somebody's head will roll, because that is a guy you traded away that should not win games in the NFL at all. And if Malik Willis comes in here and beats the Titans after looking as bad as he did with the Titans and looks decent at all and beats Will Levis, I think somebody's head's going to roll for it. I really do. I don't think they should, by the way. I'm just telling you the way the owner has reacted to things like that.
Sure.
And what I've seen from her, she's going to overreact, and someone's going to lose their job. Don't know who, but someone will lose their job if that happens.
Well, wouldn't at this point in the musical chairs blame game, wouldn't Rand be kind of the target?
Well, yeah, or someone on Rand's staff that maybe makes some of the decisions. I don't know.
Because I told Caroline the day after the Philadelphia loss, I said, because remember, they fired John Robinson on Tuesday. And I said to Caroline, I go, in other organizations that aren't as stable as the one around here, somebody's getting fired for that. And I'm talking like a defensive coordinator or something gets fired, because nope, she hauled off and fired the GM. And so I don't know if I put any of that past him. So do you think that Aaron Rodgers is a real threat on Sunday to the Titans?
Yeah, I
like
do.
An Aaron Rodgers level threat.
Yes, I do. I think he is. Now, not to run, and he's not as mobile as he has been in the past, but yeah, I think he's a threat. Now, the Titans defensively, that's where the advantage lies. And I think we're going to say that about every game, because I do think this defense has a chance to be really good. So I think he's a threat to beat the Titans. I don't know what you mean by a threat. I think the Jets are winning this game. And I think that he's a threat to play a lot better than Will Levis. And that's a 40-year-old man coming off of torn Achilles. I'm thinking Aaron Rodgers to play better than Will Levis. Do you think differently about who's going to play better in this game?
I think the Titans are going to win. Do I think that Levis is? I think the Titans are going to win an ugly game and the only reason I'm picking the Titans is because everything in my head tells me Jets, and I cannot tell you how many times everything in my head has told me the Titans are going to lose, and then the Titans win. So that's the only reason I'm picking the Titans. I'm saying 9-7, and Levis throws for 98 yards and a pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go with my head on this one and pick the Jets. I do understand what you're saying. Because too often, I think I did this last year with a game too, where I was all in on the Titans losing, and they completely shocked me and won. Maybe it was the Miami game, maybe it was another one, but yeah, I understand where you're going with that, but I'm going to go with my head here and say that the Jets are a road favorite for a reason, and they're going to win.
Chad Withrow is with us, presented by Moments Peace Salon and Day Spa. The hot seat awaits. We will do that coming up next here on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Let's talk about white bison, though. That's right. I love white bison. I love white bison, and twice daily, and white bison knows what you're craving this time of the year. Pumpkin. Certainly at my house with all the candles we got. Pumpkin. So try their pumpkin cookie frappe, their pumpkin spice latte, or vanilla shaken espresso with pumpkin soft whip. They're irresistible at White Bison. Plus, White Bison Rewards members, like me, get your 8th drink free. And while you're there, check out their sandwiches, wraps, and so much more, all freshly prepared right when you order. And for the sweet tooth, try their fresh baked pastries. They go perfectly with premium coffee, expertly prepared by the roast masters. White Bison, finely crafted for your every day. Chad Withrow is with us on a Fireball Hot Take Friday, presented by A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa. Chad, are you ready to go right to the hot seat?
I am ready.
Number one, should Tua retire?
Oh man, I'm going to stick with my guns on this. I am not one to tell an athlete when they should retire. So I don't think he should. I think he should do whatever he wants. I'm reluctant to do that. I'm fine telling coaches to retire when they're past their prime and they need to go into television. But when you're an athlete at the top of your sport, I'm always uncomfortable just saying, oh, this guy should retire. If someone's willing to pay them and they can still play, it's not on me to tell them to retire. Do I think that he's going to retire? No, I think he'll end up coming back. But this feels like a situation where the NFL is going to act in some way. Maybe that's a mandatory guardian, cap on him or whatever. But I think he's going to come back and play.
Well, I think this is different about saying whether or not Tua should retire than say like Vince Carter returns for his 93rd season. Should Vince Carter retire? Like that's like, do you want to keep doing it or do you not? This is like, dude, I'm afraid of your brain exploding in a game.
Yeah, but I mean, there are other guys with multiple, concussions. Wiley on the Titans has 2 concussions and could very easily have a third, and he's wearing the Guardian cap. I mean, again, if he wants to take that risk, I got no issue with it. He doesn't need to – this is the point I'll make. He doesn't need to listen to a single commentator or fan or anyone else about whether or not he should retire. When Manti Te'o, who I heard on Good Morning Football, who's a family member of his and a friend, is getting emotional talking about it and how he wants him to go be a family man and not play football anymore because of his health and future, you need to listen to those people in your life. He needs to listen to his family. He should listen to former players that played for a while that have had issues with CTE or with their brain post-concussion. I think you should listen to them. I'm not going to be someone that I think any player should listen to on that. I'm just very uncomfortable saying that a player should retire because of injury. So I'm going to say the same about Tua.
If Tua does retire, should the Dolphins sign Ryan Tannehill?
I don't know why they haven't already. If he's going to be out for an extended period of time at all. I know he's not gone on the IR yet, but yeah, I mean, I think anybody, Jared, that loses a quarterback right now should sign Ryan Tannehill. Is there someone better that's available that I'm missing that's out on the open market that you could sign? I don't think so. So yeah, I think they should sign Ryan Tannehill.
I think Ryan Tannehill only wants to go to a team where he knows he's going to be the starter. So if Tua breaks his leg,
I mean, I'll ask this question right now. Given what we've seen in 1 week and what we saw some last year, are the Titans better off with Will Levis or Ryan Tannehill on this team?
Well, I would put it to you like this. If they want to win on Sunday, you're better off with Tannehill. But Tannehill is not.
Do the Titans win last Sunday with Ryan Tannehill in the game? The answer is absolutely yes.
Yes, they win with Tannehill. There's no doubt in my mind.
They are 1-0 after beating the Bears with Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback. So, look, I say that not to say I want Ryan Tannehill to be the future of this Titans team or anything like that. But I'm just saying that's a guy who can go and get you through a stretch. I say good backup quarterbacks or plug-and-play options are guys who can get you to 2-2 after a 4-game stretch if you're without your quarterback for 4 games. Tannehill is absolutely that guy who could do that for a team.
That takes me to the next one. What do you think of Malik Willis starting at quarterback for the Green Bay Packers?
Shocking. I was shocked they were able to get a trade done for him. I was shocked someone else really wanted him enough to trade. I know they didn't give up much, and then to go there and immediately be the backup and now be thrust as a starter because of the injury to Jordan Love, I'm shocked.
You know what's crazy? I think Malik might win a game.
Well, I think if he does, it's not going to be because of him.
It's going to be because of Josh Jacobs.
It's going to be other factors in the game. But I am circling the game that the Packers are coming to Nashville because I think that is a gut-wrenching moment for Titans fans if Malik Willis can come in and beat this team. That should not happen.
Okay, let's just assume that the Titans and the Packers were this weekend and not next weekend, and Malik is quarterbacking Green Bay. Would you pick the Titans to win?
Yes. Yeah, I would. I'm going to pick them next week too.
I mean, there's something about It's like maybe I'm just being a
I mean,
total
Will
devil's
Levis
advocate.
is better than Malik Willis. As tough as I've been on Will Levis is a better quarterback than Malik Willis.
It's like I'm picking the Titans to beat the Jets because I just think it's too lined up for Jets. So I know how the NFL works. The other side of it for me is if Malik comes in here and plays quarterback, even though I cannot see a reason to fathom Malik Willis winning a game at quarterback against the Titans, it's like I see crazy stuff happen in this league. And that would be like all-time crazy if Malik came in here and won.
It would be all-time embarrassing for the Titans too. I mean, let's put it from the Titans' perspective. We're here in Nashville. We're on a Nashville show. You and I both want the Titans to do well. We're Titans fans. That is an embarrassing moment for the Titans. If the guy that you gave a shot to at one point and was just not any good, and then, he's a little bit improved in training camp and he's a little bit better in preseason, but we still know that he's not going to be an option here, so we trade him away. And he goes to another team and immediately in week 3, comes back to the place he was at before and comes to Nashville and wins the game. That, to me, is one of those all-time low Titan fan moments that you'll ever experience. I'll put it on par with losing to Johnny Football the way they did, and Johnny Manziel looking good. I'll put it like Ryan Leaf, who I love, who's a guest on my show a lot of times now. When the Titans lost to Ryan Leaf as the Tennessee Oilers back in the day at Vanderbilt Stadium in one of his few wins. Those are the types of rock bottom moments we're talking about. If the Titans fall to 0-3 and lose to Malik Willis, I get it. It's 3 weeks into a 17-game season. That's pretty close to rock bottom. I hope it doesn't go any further down than that.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head when the Titans would have lost a game that bad to that bad of a quarterback, and nothing's popping up. Okay, number 4. What do we make of Taylor Lewan's DeAndre Hopkins report? He said DeAndre wasn't going to play. DeAndre did play, but DeAndre did not play a lot. Does Taylor get partial credit, or do we think somebody lied to him?
Did he play under or over 10 snaps? I know he had 1 catch. How many
I think he might have played exactly 10 snaps.
Okay, then I think that Taylor doesn't get credit for anything. I was going to say if he played just a handful of snaps just to get out there and basically go through the motions, then I would give him credit for it. But, I mean, maybe partial credit, but I don't think you get credit. If you played double-digit snaps and got a catch and you're saying that he's not going to play on Sunday, I think that's Taylor Lewan. You know, being Taylor Lewan, he's not someone who's done this as long as you and I have here. That knows when you say something like that, you better be close to accurate about it. I think you probably use some hyperbole saying, he's not going to play on Sunday. Absolutely not going to play. And because of that, he got burned on it. And he did play. And he played double-digit snaps. So, no, he gets no credit.
Number 5, will the Browns be able to get out of the Deshaun Watson contract?
I think they're going to one way or the other. We had this discussion on our show this week about whether or not Deshaun Watson will be the starter opening day 2025. I don't think he will. I think somehow, some way this year, they're going to find a way out of it, whether it be the separate accusation that is different than the massage stuff. So I think there's some legal wranglings to get out of it. We had Michael McCann on our show, and he said because it's not so much of a similar allegation that maybe they could say this is something new, and depending on the language of the contract, be able to get out of it. I just think one way or another, they're going to find a way to get out of this thing because Deshaun Watson has been terrible. And it's shocking to me how bad he's been. But he has been. He's been so bad that they're going to try to find some way to get out of this thing.
How many teams in college football would you pick right now to beat Tennessee on a neutral field?
Georgia, Ohio State, Texas. Georgia, Ohio State, Texas. I'm trying to think who's ranked ahead. I know Missouri's ranked ahead of them. I don't know that I would pick Missouri on a neutral field over Tennessee right now. I don't have the top 25 in front of me. Who am I missing? Because off the top of my head, Alabama. I'll say Alabama too. There's a fourth.
I would pick Tennessee. I would pick Tennessee over Alabama. Alabama struggled with South Florida.
Well, Alabama also has 6 fumbles through 2 weeks, which is a problem. They had 13 penalties against South Florida, which discipline could be an issue for them.
The only team you've missed that's ahead of Tennessee is Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think I would take Tennessee over Ole Miss on a neutral site. I think in Missouri, I think 6 and Tennessee 7. So I think there's probably 3 or 4 teams right now I would take over Tennessee. I think they're appropriately ranked at number 7. I like that spot for them. I like that jump for them. I'm watching the second half on Saturday night, Jared. And, as a Tennessee grad, I'm typically pretty guarded with optimism about my teams. But I'm watching that second half, and I'm thinking, this team is national championship good. That defensive line is national championship good. I mean, they played NC State. Granted, they killed them, and I'm not sure how good NC State is even going to be. But they didn't play 2 FCS opponents. And if you look at the number of snaps that defensive line has played and how much they're rotating more than Georgia rotates. And Georgia is known for studs they rotate on the defensive line. So that's a great sign for Tennessee. I think this defense is beyond legit. I think Nico can beat anybody when he gets it going. Tennessee didn't even play good on offense in that game against NC State, and they won by 41 points over a ranked opponent on a neutral field. This team is national championship level good. I'm not picking them to win it. I'm not saying they're the best team in America, but they are good enough to contend.
Why are there no good college football games this weekend?
It's a great question, man. For years, it was like week 1 was this week, right? Mm-hmm. So for so long that was always the one. Well, college football's back, but there are no marquee matchups. And then for a while, I feel like we went through about a 10-year cycle, like 2005 to 2015, where week 2, everyone had a tune-up game. And week 2, you had all the marquee Power 5 versus Power 5 matchups and games you wanted to watch. And now I just feel like the cycle keeps kind of changing. And week 1 was really good with games. Week 2 was pretty good, especially with, Texas and Michigan, highly anticipated game. And now week 3 is kind of the week where it's just sort of off with everyone. Alabama, Wisconsin was always going to be the marquee game, but Wisconsin's not doing a lot to help that marquee value of the game when they beat South Dakota 27-13.
Yeah.
So it is an off week for college football. But what I love about the sport is that every window there's something I'm really wanting to watch. And usually 2 things I'm really wanting to watch. So because of the amount of teams, I'm still, I can't watch every game all at once. There's still going to be things I'm focused on in each window of the day that's going to keep my interest.
Last one, Chad Withrow, you publicly announced you've made the switch from DirecTV to YouTube TV. What was your process behind it, and what do you think so far?
My process behind it was when they take all the Disney networks away and all the ESPNs away, especially during football, I don't care how it happens. I don't care who's at fault. When you take that away from me and I'm paying for that product, and you don't call or email me and saying you're getting this sort of rebate, then I don't take kindly to that. Now, when I called DirecTV to tell them I'm canceling the subscription, suddenly my bill magically went from $225. They said they could take it down to $120.
Damn. And get the same channels?
Well, they said they were going to take away a couple of my premium channels, so HBO or something, which I told them, not a big deal because I have HBO Max anyways. But I still said, well, look, that's still $50 more than YouTube TV. And that just feels like a better option right now. So I also need assurances on when I'm getting back sports. And there's a lot of college football and NFL on ESPN. I need that. And I told them for my job, I need those channels. And I'm not trying to sound, dramatic here about it, but I need those channels. And Jared, I was shocked how easily they let me go. They're like, you know what? We get it. We're hearing this a lot. Here it is. You're going to pay for the rest of this month, and good luck. I thought I was going to be on the phone for 30 minutes trying to cancel, and it took about 4 minutes, and it was over. And now I'm a YouTube TV guy. I will say, I did ask you, Jared, how often do you have an internet problem with it? My internet cut out for about 15 minutes a day. And it happened to be on this morning, and it happened for the first time, 4 days in. First time it's going to happen. And I am thinking, I really hope this doesn't happen in the middle of a big game. But I also know that I can go just on data on my phone and watch it on the app and still see it even if that happens. So
how
so
powerful
far,
is your
so
internet?
good.
You got to get the powerful internet if you're going to do that.
I've got the Xfinity, whatever the top level stuff is for
So you should
Xfinity internet. So hopefully it works.
Chad Withrow, that is the hot seat. As always, enjoy your weekend with no good college football this weekend, but at least there's good NFL. And we will talk soon.
Have a great weekend watching North Texas and Texas Tech this weekend. One of the premier matchups of the college football weekend. It's going to be fun regardless. Jared, always fun hopping on with you.
Ugh, North Texas. When I saw Kentucky was the Saturday night game, I knew, especially after Kentucky got drilled by South Carolina, I knew we were Kentucky, Georgia. It's going to be 80-0 at halftime.
Here's something that has to make you happy as a Louisville grad. The fact that Kentucky now is just handcuffed to Mark Stoops, and they don't even want to be handcuffed to Mark Stoops. And Mark Stoops doesn't even want to be at Kentucky. He wanted to leave for A&M, and then some rich guys got together at A&M and said, "Nope, we're vetoing that. He's not going to be here at A&M." He's complained about their NIL, the lack of NIL at Kentucky, and now he's getting killed by what I think could be a bad South Carolina team at home and getting pushed around on the offensive line. Boy, it's a weird spot to be in for Kentucky football right now.
Should have just hired Liam Cohen. Chad, great stuff.
All right. See you, Jared.
Yep. 615-737-1025. Coming up next on this Fireball Hot Take Friday, I'm picking the Titans. Mike Tannenbaum's picking the Titans. Corey Curtis is picking the Titans. Joe Rexro's picking the Titans. Chad is not picking the Titans. A lot of us are picking it. Chris Sanders is picking the Titans. But I just can't ride with his reasoning. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Aaron Rodgers is taking on Will Levis. I don't know about you. I know where I'm leaning on this one. Jets, Titans, week 2. You give me Aaron Rodgers against Will Levis. Levis had 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter of their opening game against the Chicago Bears. They were up in that game 17-3. Earlier in the week, their head coach, Brian Callahan, was quoted saying if we would have did better punting the ball on first down and we still would have won the game. That's not a ringing endorsement for his quarterback, Todd.
Solomon Wilcott's just chuckling, saying Will Levis versus Aaron Rodgers. I know who I'm taking. By the way, it should be noted off the top of my head, I believe that Aaron Rodgers has lost to Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, and Kerry Collins playing quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. He has beaten Jake Locker and Ryan Tannehill, if I am not mistaken. So I'm fine with picking the Titans. A lot of people are picking the Titans to win on Sunday. I get it. I mean, I hate the fact that the Jets got embarrassed. If the Jets had beaten San Francisco on Sunday, I would have, said, oh, yes, they're going to be fat and happy, and the Titans are going to hit them where the sun don't shine, and they ain't going to be expecting it. But that didn't happen. But I think if the Titans win, it's going to have to be a dirty game. It's going to have to be an ugly game. It's going to have to be one of those. I don't think you're going to win because of your quarterback play. And I understand that everybody is, oh, Jared, it was just one bad game. Oh, Jared, it was just one bad half. Maybe you'd say, oh, Jared, it was just one bad quarter. I don't know when it comes to Levis. But again, Levis, Aaron Rodgers. I understand the idea of saying, hey, Aaron's not the same anymore, but he's still Aaron. Or the idea of saying, hey, maybe Levis will do better this week, but not saying Levis will be better than Aaron Rodgers. So Chris Sanders was on our show yesterday, and I asked Chris Sanders who he was picking on Sunday. Of course, we'll have the pregame show live from John Bon Jovi's downtown. But I asked Chris, I said, Chris, who are you taking and why? And I don't know if I can get on board with this.
I think they're gonna win.
Of course.
And the reason and the reason why I'm gonna win is because Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Aaron Rodgers looks good right now. I mean, he looks.
But you think Will Levis looks good?
But you know why I'm saying it is I think our defense is going to shut him down and get some interceptions or some turnovers. Our defense is flat out balling. 148 yards against the Chicago Bears. Come on, man, that defense is balling. But looking at the situation, look at Aaron Rodgers. He didn't do nothing in OTAs. He didn't really do nothing in camp. He didn't do nothing in preseason. Now he looks bad right now. So I think the Tennessee Titans are going to beat the brakes off the New York Jets.
Beat the brakes off the Jets.
Wow.
Because Aaron Rodgers.
He's old.
Chris, I love you. But I can't get there. That is what we call crazy Uncle Chris Sanders. When he says something just wild and crazy and, I think we're going to beat the brakes off of him because this defense is legit. 3 turnovers. Why didn't they get a single turnover against Caleb Williams in his first game if they're that good? But they're going to do it to Aaron Rodgers. That's who they're going to do it to Aaron Rodgers. And I just can't get on board with that. Like, you're not going to win because of Aaron on Sunday. Now, Aaron may not be as good as Aaron was when he was winning back-to-back MVPs a couple of years ago. And I certainly think that Aaron is not as in sync when it comes to his receivers and the Jets and Robert Saleh and Hackett. And I think there are some issues there for sure. I think Aaron's coming off of an Achilles. But to just think like, oh, this is easy. This is Aaron Rodgers. I can't get there. I can do that with Deshaun Watson. I can't do that with Aaron Rodgers.
I forgot it's a Todd Downing revenge game here.
Todd Downing, Keith Carter's on their coaching staff.
He's like Downing's like the passing game coordinator or something.
Well, good thing Malik's not playing because Todd Downing knows everything there is to know about Malik. Wink, wink. But again, I cannot. This idea that you're going to win because of Aaron Rodgers is crazy. Just crazy. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. Steve's been waiting patiently on the Titans. Steve, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Jared? Man, y'all been doing a great job. You and Ian. I mean, way back in the day when you first started, even when the GM was here, hey man, Floyd, he gave us some insight on some stuff, but they don't know about it. But I'm just proud of you for holding these Titans accountable. Somebody got to do it, baby. They say it's a hard job, but somebody got to do it. Hey, love you, bro.
Steve, thank you, sir. That was very, very kind of you to say. Let me just say this about the Titans and about the whole like holding the Titans accountable and all of that. I just say whatever I feel. I watched the game, and right before Levis threw the death pick, I turned to my dad and I said to my dad, I go, I think he might be more of a backup. Again, we went into the season with the hope that he could be a superstar. That's like yesterday when I was telling TD, I'm like, he can't be Dan Marino. And TD's like, well, that's not fair. It's Dan Marino. And I know exactly what TD means by that. And TD's right. You know, you draft a quarterback and you say, we want you, Johnny, to be Dan Marino. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But let's not kid ourselves. The hope for Levis was that he was going to be a star. That's why you drafted him. If you wanted average, you could have just re-signed Ryan Tannehill and you'd have average. And we know what Tannehill is, and it's average. But we want the Titans to have a star. And Levis showed us some things last year that made us think maybe there's a chance. Just a chance. But then I'm like looking at that game Sunday and he can't move the football. And I'm like, no. And then he threw the death pick and I was like, okay, we know. He's never going to be a star. Maybe he becomes a starting quarterback. I don't know, but he's never going to be a star. One text says this game feels a lot like when Brett Favre came into Nashville and beat the Titans with the Jets. That comes from Parker. Parker, the Titans were 10-0 when Brett Favre came in here and beat them with Eric Mangini as the coach. I would say this feels nothing like that. Six-pack picks are next. And I've already said I'm picking the Titans, but we will go through all the games, and we'll do it next. Stillman and Company, 102.5-1063 The Game. Okay, it's time to make the picks. 6-pack picks on the program. Ian, how did we do last week?
Pretty good last week, actually. 5-1.
Jared knows ball, folks.
You got
Just saying.
Texas. You got Texas over Michigan. You got Tennessee. You missed Green Bay, but then you
Didn't
got.
I say those were both going to be blowouts, by the way? Texas and Tennessee.
I don't know. I don't have that written down. But then you got you missed Green Bay. You got Jacksonville, San Francisco, and the Bears.
And I got the Bears pretty doggone close.
Yeah, you have 24-16 on there. It was pretty close.
Okay, so without further ado, it is time for this week's 6-pack picks.
This new beautiful music. Okay, we mentioned with Chad Withrow earlier this hour, kind of a weak college slate. So we only have one college game that I've found.
I should have moved this Saturday instead of last Saturday. Because there's nothing
probably
to watch this Saturday.
No, but this one is an SEC battle. Number 16, LSU, is at South Carolina. It's 11 a.m. on ABC. The over-under is 48.5. LSU is -6.
I mean, I'm going to have to take LSU. I'm not sure I'm really sold on LSU, but I'm going to have to take them because everybody keeps telling me South Carolina's horrible. I know South Carolina went to Kentucky and smoked them, but maybe that's just Kentucky's worse than horrible. I don't know. I'll take LSU -6, but I do want to say that I went on Louisville radio this week, and I said that South Carolina is going to be Clemson this year. So maybe I need to stick with my Gamecocks. Make sure I get that first part in there. But I'm going to take LSU this week -6. One college game.
One. I could have stretched with a couple of others like
Alabama, Wisconsin.
Yeah, but who really cares? Texas A&M. The spread
Robbie's
was like
going to the game.
It was like 16.5, and then like Missouri was 14 points over Boston College and Texas A&M and Florida. There's some terrible games.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the NFL here. Noon, CBS, 49ers at Vikings. Early game for San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey out again this week. Over under 46.5. Your boy, Sammy D. San Francisco is -4.5, though.
I'll take the 49ers. The early part of the season's usually pretty weird, and I would love nothing more than Sammy D to get it done. I put 49ers by 10, so when you said 4.5, I'll take the 49ers.
Okay, we move on to Fox. Noon. Should be an interesting game here. I think I read that Tampa Bay is dealing with some injuries, but Tampa Bay is on the road at Detroit to take on the Lions. Noon, Fox.
Playoff rematch.
High over-under 51.5. Detroit is -7.5.
NFL games are closer than that. I'll take the Buccaneers. They must have some serious injuries, but if Baker's playing quarterback,
I think Winfield's out, yeah.
Winfield's pretty good. If Baker's in at quarterback and Evans is in at wide receiver, I think it's going to be closer than a touchdown. I think it'll be a real game. Give me Tampa Bay to cover +3.
Okay, to CBS, the 325 Nance Romo game of the week.
Ooh.
Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, been banged up, messing with his wrist. At Kansas City, over under 48.5, pretty high as you would expect. KC is -6.
Cincinnati's usually pretty bad at the beginning of the year, and Sunday was no different. Kansas City's had the extra time to prepare. T. Higgins is out. Jamar Chase has been a mess. This is probably against my better judgment. I'll take Cincinnati +8. I just think that, when a team gets embarrassed in week 1, they usually come out and play better in week 2, which is what scares me to death with the Jets. But I'll take Cincinnati.
I have KC -6.
Oh, excuse me, Cincinnati +6. I'll take Cincinnati +6. I think I'm probably going to regret this. I'll go Cincinnati +6. Who is on Sunday night?
The Sunday night game is the Bears at the Texans.
Yeah.
$7.
I'll take the Texans. What's the line?
6.5.
I'll take the Texans. I think the Bears suck. So I want you guys to know, for everybody out there that's like, our defense is so good, I'm not convinced of that. I do think the Bears' offense is overrated. I think their offensive line is atrocious. And I think the Titans exposed them. And I think Houston actually has a better defense than the Titans. So I think Houston, now Caleb's not going to be as bad, but I think Houston is going to lay the wood to Chicago. Give me Houston, and I'll lay the 6.5.
Okay, that brings us to the final game here. Jets are coming to town to take on the Titans. Noon CBS, low over under 41.5. Jets minus 3.5.
I'm taking the Titans, and I'm taking the Titans to win. And I think it's going to be an ugly game, a dirty game, a fumbly game. If I'm a Titan fan, I hope it rains kind of game. I think the Titans win 9-7, 3 field goals, gets it done. Will Levis, 98 yards and 1 interception. They will run Tony Pollard some, but it'll be an ugly punt fest, and I'll take the Titans 9-7. That's it for us. We will see you all for the award-winning pregame show Sunday at 9:30 live from John Bon Jovi's downtown. Meanwhile, Jake and TD are up next. Stillman and Company. We'll see everybody Monday at 2.